Hello, friends. How's everything going?
Howdy,
I just
howdy.
howdy. Sometimes I really just want to like do one of these where I'm just like, oh, I didn't see you there. Thank you for stopping by. Would that be too corny? I'm pretty sure that would be way
With
too
that being
corny.
said, would
Yeah.
anybody like to co-host with me this Sunday night starting right now? Oh my
Uh,
God, Clark Kent, he's my co-host now.
yeah, you wouldn't even recognize me.
Happy
Okay.
Sunday,
Happy
y'all.
Sunday, folks. Thank you for the remaining people who were here who didn't immediately leave as soon as I tried to pull some bullshit. But you know what you're in for, because I'm always pulling bullshit.
Exactly.
Every day of my life. So happy Sunday. Thank you everyone for being here. Me and this lovely gal are here to talk about comics. We're here to talk about all the things we liked, most of the things that we hated and why we hated. So let's
And
go
some of
ahead
the
and
things that we really wish we could just make better.
yeah. And I think in your case, like you're like, this is how this could be made better. And I have some hot takes where I'm just not going to be very nice.
I
So
am ready to go into full comic book editor mode right now because there's one book we're going to talk about tonight where I'm just like, who edited this book? Why did they edit this book? And how can I edit this book to make it better?
I'm going to go ahead and say hello to some people in the chat. And of course, the first person here has to
The
be
comic book
Travis.
hype man himself.
I wish, because in StreamYard you can go ahead and like pull up comments, and I really wish that I could pull up like sound effects. So I know that there's some ways that I can do some things like that. Eventually I'll figure it out. I stream on my phone. I should probably stream on like my computer or something, but this is where we're at right now. So thank you, Travis, as always, for being here. Appreciate your support so gosh darn much. So let's go ahead and say, and hello to the other, like, basically like comic book YouTube hype person, John. Appreciate you being here, friend. And then Tony, hello, you're here for the party. Thank you.
And he's not driving.
And maybe he is. We don't really know. Maybe
we don't
if
discriminate, but just be safe if you are.
Be safe. Thank you. And then one of my besties, well, pretty much like my non-virtual bestie, Nicole, who I absolutely love you and I miss you so much. So, hello. And hello to Banshee Queen. Good afternoon and evening. It's 5 o'clock where I'm at. Is that afternoon or is that evening? That's evening,
that's
right?
Evening. That's evening.
Yeah. It's still a little bit sunny out, so. And then Samantha, hello. One of the ladies who, she has some fabulous videos. I did put a in the link. I do have or in the description. There's a link for Samantha's channel down below. So please go and check her out. And you can also check her out when I do Friday shows with Hero and the Kid and Bearded Comic Bro and Fire Guy Ryan. And sometimes you're there. So it's a fun party.
Party time.
And then hello to Scott. Thank you so much for being here. Absolutely love your artwork. Thank you so much for being here. Scott gave some excellent ideas for some March Madness stuff, which we'll talk about that later, what we're going to be doing. And then hello to TC. Thank you so much for being here. Let's see here. I really hope I'm not missing anyone. There's some comments that are just going. Julie Waltman. Hi, Jennifer and Mars and everyone in the chat. Hello. Everyone say hi to Julie. And then we've got Brandon. Thank you so much. I had a conversation with Brandon last week about Department of Truth, and it was really, really cool. I love conspiracy theories, so Department of Truth is such a fun book to like dig into that. So let's see here. Serge, hello. And 69 Chop Shop. Thank you so much. Love the tea. Both of us, right? Because they're both Marvel. You've got Avengers.
We're on brand.
I've got X-Men. Yeah. And then, hi, I guess I've come on at the end. No, Sleepy Reader, you're here like right at the beginning. So you are just in time to hang out and catch us on our bullshit. And let's see here. And hello, Hero and the Kid. Hi. So you had to show up right when we started talking your name. So
Exactly
we
what happened.
should. There's a link to Hero and the Kid in the chat as well. So thank you or in the description below. And then hello, Daniel Tinico. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Cool. So let's go ahead and see here. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with why I assume everyone is here for comic talk, right?
Comic talk, because there was we were talking about it. When we jumped on, I was like, oh my god, it was such a big week for comics, and there was a lot of number ones that came out, and of course Jen has to flex her dumb bitch money energy that she's spending on a daily basis. It was a big week for comics, but then when I actually went and looked, I was like, other than the number ones that came out, that was basically it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's both a blessing and a curse, I guess. And it allows us to bullshit a little bit more tonight, which I'm sure will be fun because we always have lots of things to talk about.
I do have not sponsored by Truly whatsoever,
not
but I
sponsored by Stella.
We can do like a clink.
Clink clink. It's an evening show. We can do what we want. Jen doesn't have to go to work, so we can hang out as long as we want. We can drink as much as we want. It's party time on a Sunday night.
I'm an adult.
What book? She's an adult. Sometimes she's an adult. What book do we want to discuss first?
I'll
let you have the pick.
You know what? Let me go ahead, and I know you are dying to hear my thoughts about this book because like you were like, I am not picking up the second issue of this, and we both hated the first issue, and you were not going to get the second. And as soon as I read this, I was like, yo, this book was fucking ridiculous. And at this point, like, I hate it. And I'm not like hate reading it, but I'm like,
she's hate reading it.
I'm not hate reading. I assure you, I am not. I assure you, I am not a cat. But the issue number 2, where we both kind of like trashed on was Casual Fling. Oh, you thought it was a different one?
I thought it was a different book, so now I'm excited, and now I want to hear all about this very weird book.
Okay,
so basically, before you start, how were the author notes this time? Did you read the author notes? Were they creepier?
There were not any author notes. I was so sad because, just so everyone is aware, if you watched our show last month and you watched us talk about Casual Fling, it's basically this book about this woman who, it's like, can she have it all? Can she have a high-powered career and a husband and kids and all of that and live the American dream? And basically, in the first issue, we explore the issues of feminism. I don't know. I just imagine that was like the pitch for it. But it's this woman is, like I said, high-powered career, has a husband who's like a stay-at-home husband, I guess, and she's missing kids' recitals and date nights because she's got a career and she can't sacrifice that dumb bullshit for her career. But anyways, she ends up meeting a guy and they have a casual fling, and he ends up blackmailing her, taking like revenge porn of her, and the bullshit's pretty much the same in here. It's so ridiculous. Like,
I hate it. Oh,
it's so like cringy because she's basically like thinking about this dude that she had a casual fling with and that she had, like, it sounds like decent sex with, and she's, the sex, like, she's literally like in bed thinking about this dude that she cheated on while like her husband is inside of her, so that's like awkward. And she's like just going through the, like, literally, like, she's just like going through the motions, and you can just tell this is miserable for homegirl. And it's like, well, no wonder why you cheated. So anyways, my biggest thing is, I'm just like, y'all, monogamy is not real, but honesty is. If you, like, I don't know, I could have a whole talk about that, but that's more of like a private thing. So anyways, it's still just like he's blackmailing her, and he's like, you're going to give me a whole bunch of money in Bitcoin, or I'm going to go to your husband and I'm going to tell on you. And I'm also going to put it everywhere. And at this point, I'm just like, who gives a shit? Like,
wait, I need to know, do they actually use the word Bitcoin in this book?
I believe so.
Or something
Maybe
along those lines. They
something
imply
along
Bitcoin.
something like that. Let me go ahead and see here if I can actually find the words Bitcoin. But anyways, he's basically like, if you don't send me money, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell the whole wide world on you, and it's going to be horrible. And she doesn't. She ends up coming out to her husband, and she's like, hey, I feel really bad about this.
She
Oops,
tells
but
the
I cheated
husband.
on you. And he's just like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. And I wish you, and like, I don't know. It just, he's like, I am really upset. I'm going to take the kids. And, spoiler alert, at the end of this, he ends up like, so anyways, uh, he watches the video of them like having sex. And I'm like, I don't know, you could have turned this around into a completely different moment, but whatever, that's all on you. And he gets really upset. And then he ends up leaving, and he ends up like, spoiler alert for anyone who wanted to watch that, but then he like goes to this girl and he's like, hey, I have a favor to ask, sensei. And so like, I don't know if he's implying that he's in like a relationship with her or what, but anyways, it's totally horrible. It's almost like trash romance, but like written by weebs.
I mean, it is written by a man, which should have been our first like red flag, and especially that author note in the back where he's like, "This is deeply personal," and I'm like, "Oh boy, what are
Yeah.
you trying to get out to us?"
Yeah. So at this point, I'm totally reading it for like the dumb bullshit, because I just feel like this book is nonsense, but I appreciate it in a totally horrible way. So casual fling, y'all, number 2. And I guess the reason why I can almost justify doing it is because it's 2 of 4. So I know I'm halfway through. I really,
but it's like, how much more can they drag it out? Because it's like, you would have thought her telling her husband would have been like in the 3rd, maybe 4th issue. If she tells him in issue 2, we got 2 more issues to fill. What are they gonna do?
I'm really hoping that like in this, I hope the storyline is that the husband ends up going to this girl that he's like calling in a favor. I really hope that like she has an OnlyFans or something like that. Like I hope they do that, because you should pay sex workers and you should pay people for porn.
Oh yeah,
but
100%.
That's a whole nother
Conversation.
thank you for coming to my sex worker positive, no slut shaming here TED Talk. But I just wanted to go ahead and get casual fling out of the way, because I know as soon as I read that, and I'm like, oh my god, this was so ridiculous. And that's all I told you. So.
I almost regret not picking up issue 2 because of the sheer ridiculousness of it. But I think I enjoy more the idea that you're going to be telling me each and every month in detail how this goes, and just my sheer shocked face. So I think that's the greatest pleasure I could get out of this book.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. I believe that his wife totally cheated on him. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yeah. Either his wife cheated on him, or he got caught cheating and had to write a comic about it. And he's just flipping the gender roles. So, yeah, that's my theory behind it.
I'm not sure what game he's trying to play with that, but I just thought that was really fun.
I've been heavily thinking about getting creator guests on the show. I think he should be our first option.
I think so too. I think we should be like, why are men? Thank you all for being
here.
Who
are men?
I don't know, but I'm there is a sick part of me that's like, I really hope this has like a satisfying ending that's just so like wholesome. And like the moral of the story is the friendship was the treasure they found along the way, or the treasure was the friendship they found along the way. I don't know. Just
also, I can't help
be honest about it.
I can't help but like zooming in on here on the kids' comment of no wonder why Ryan loved that one. And now I just want to have a nice heart-to-heart with Ryan and ask him if he has like a cry for help, or if he needs to tell us something, because he can confide in me and I'll keep it a secret. But So casual fling, y'all. Upshot Comics, sponsor us. Give us PDF files. Let us review your comics, and we will totally do this all day long.
I will be very, very honest about my opinions. I promise you.
Very honest.
Really quick, I just want to say hello to a couple other people that I saw in here. I think that I said hello to Sleepy Reader 666, but hello, yes, thank you. Stacks on stacks on stacks. This is why I do it for you all. Um, and let's go ahead and see here. Did you both plan to wear Marvel t-shirts?
Nope,
No.
we never do.
Nope, we don't talk about wardrobe choices. We let it be a surprise.
We just surprise. And while you're saying hello to everybody, give me 2 seconds and I will be right back.
Got it. Radio of Horror Bitcoin. Apparently people are still doing some Bitcoin, I guess. I guess it's a thing still. My thing is that until people are paying their rent with Bitcoin, until my mom is using Bitcoin, like I'm just like I don't care about Bitcoin. All right, and then hey, let's go ahead and say hello to Super Russ. I just subbed up your channel. You're doing like a show every day, or you're doing like a video every day. That is incredible. That is like, I don't know if I could aspire to be a show every day. I can do a show a week, so that's what I'm doing here for now. So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate that. And you just subbed up too. What I'm also going to do, friends, is I'm going to put, since Mars isn't here, I don't even know if she can hear me. I'm going to go ahead and put her link in the chat. Would love it if everyone went ahead and subbed.
Hello.
Oh man. She wasn't supposed to hear me. I just really want all y'all to go and sub her up on her channel, because she has literally the best videos. So if you all can just click that. Oh, you're back. Damn it, she's back, everyone.
I'm back. You've been foiled. If it helps, I only heard you about halfway through, so your secret's safe.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Sorry, I had to do it again. Okay.
That comic girl has left the chat.
Sorry, folks. So anyways, that was, I guess, like one of my hot takes for the week. So any other books that you read that you go next? What was one of the books that you liked?
Oh, you want me to do one I liked?
Or you know what, do one that you liked or you hated. Let's
I don't know. Now you have me torn, because it could go one of two ways. I want to talk about Noctara. Let's do it. Why not? Let's just talk about it, because I have a lot of feelings about this book, and some of them are good, but a lot of them are extremely, extremely constructive. Extremely. So Noctara, I was not going to pick this book up out of principle because of two things. A, there is not a single thing written by Scott Snyder that I like. He's a chill dude. I love the dude. I love him to bitty pieces. Do not like him as a writer. I don't know. He's just too wordy for me. So that was principle number one. I wasn't going to pick this book up. Principle number two was the fact that this book was kickstarted successfly, and then Image Comics went and scooped it up and decided they were going to distribute it. So yeah, I was very like sour. It was kickstarted. It was kickstarted at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was like one of the most successful comic book kickstarters, along with another book that we'll talk about that was also kickstarted, and I have very raw opinions about. But Noctara won me over because it hit me with my two favorite things in the world other than comics. Post-apocalyptic stuff. Well, I guess it's kind of the same thing, but post-apocalyptic stuff and Mad Max Fury Road, which is my favorite movie of all time. So I'm like, damn it, I got to pick this book up. I thought I was going to absolutely hate this book. I actually really, really like the story of this book. I really like the premise of this book. And when it came to the writing from Scott Snyder, who we've established I do not like as a writer, I actually was okay with it. It was the first thing that I think I've read by him that I actually really, really enjoyed. What I do not like about this book is the art. I feel like the art does not fit for this style of book. Really? Tony S. Daniel is the writer on this book. So for those of you that don't know or haven't read it, let me summarize Noctara for you. So Noctara is a post-apocalyptic story, and it has to deal with, it's like a new apocalypse. So it's like the world has gone completely dark, and they say that they have to keep themselves within light, or within 10 hours, they will start to sort of mutate into these weird creatures. And they have to stay lit. And I'm like, that is really, really, like, that's an interesting premise. And like, I feel like That's something that we really have not explored in media with post-apocalyptic stuff. We see our standard post-apocalyptic stuff. We see frozen post-apocalyptic stuff, dinosaurs. One where it's completely dark and you mutate, that's new. This art needed to be more neon. It needed to pop.
Ooh.
It needed to be more bright and not your stereotypical Tony S. Daniel sort of dude bro art, because that's how I'm going to describe it. Because the one scene that really, really like solidified that fact for me is there's a scene when they're in the truck and you see everybody in all of their neon little outfits. And I'm like, this concept could be really cool. You get to the city where the city is so lit up and they've got all these different light sources because that's the only thing keeping this evil at bay or whatever. And I'm like, this book would have been so much better if it was so stylistic, so beautiful with its art. The colors needed to pop more. They needed to reflect this sort of neon backdrop because neon is a huge source of light. And I feel like in the apocalypse, a lot of it would be very handcrafted, and I feel like that reminds me of Neon. I wanted
Neon Terra.
Neon Terra.
Neon Terra.
It could have just been Noctara, and it could have still been Noctara, but give it a neon blend instead of making this. I understand that it's a dark apocalypse, but this was not the book to be doing it with, or the art style to be doing it with. And I'm just like, whoever edited this book, I want to punt them off a building for letting Tony S. Daniel do it. And maybe it suffered from an editor because it was a Kickstarter book and it was just Tony S. Daniel and Scott Snyder doing what they wanted. But I feel like if this book had a structured editing team, and it's surprising coming from Image Comics, but again, I feel like Image Comics picked it up just to distribute it. I feel like it would have been so much better.
It's so funny because I feel like a lot of the issues that you have with it are with the art, where I feel like so many of the issues that I have with it are purely, in my opinion, Scott Snyder. Like,
really?
There's so many Scott Snyder like things that just did not work for me, and I hated Undiscovered Country. I feel like
Undiscovered Country was rough.
And I feel like I loved Witches. Let me go ahead and say, I know someone, so Sleepy Reader says Witches. I loved Witches, and it makes me mad that we get more of this and we don't have more of Witches. Like, fucking why? Because that was a fantastic story. But I feel like Scott Snyder, like, I don't know if he's just been doing non-indie stuff, so he's been doing mainstream stuff for so long. It's almost like for this to be an indie book where he can pretty much go balls to the wall, whatever he wants to do, I feel like it could have been so much better. I feel like I needed more from this, and I didn't get it, and that was purely the writing.
That is the first line in the Scott Snyder note in the back is, all of us on the team have been doing superhero work for a while now, and to be honest, coming over to do a new creator-owned series after a while in capes is always scary. So it's like, you hit the nail on the head there, but it's like, oh, really? Really? And especially when something gets kickstarted like that, it's almost like you really have free reign to do anything you want, and it's already paid for. You don't have to wait for people to like the first issue in order to get money to do a second issue. And this, like, honestly, this could have been any other writer, and to me, it could have been someone's first book, and I would have been like, oh, that's interesting. But for someone like Scott Snyder, who is so, in my opinion, kind of overrated at this point, established, like, for someone established like he is, I really, really wanted Noctara to be more than it was. I know you have some like editor notes, like what could this book do better? Or was that all just for the artwork? I feel like it's hard to judge on a first issue because from an editor standpoint, as somebody who has edited a few pieces of work, I do feel like it is a very interesting concept. I feel like unlike Undiscovered Country, where it threw us this like new concept, but it didn't feel like it was fully realized. This feels, at least in the first issue, it feels like it's fully realized. Like, I see the world building at hand. Do I think, I personally think that the ending is absolutely unnecessary with them, describing the start of the apocalypse and, having that little backstory with her as a child. Because listen, every apocalyptic story features some young adult protagonist that experienced, how it all started. I don't need to know how it all started. I don't need to know your emotions of how it all started. I just want to see this like unique world kind of play out. I want to see more of the creatures. And that was the other thing too. The creatures that we saw, it was really just bits and pieces of them. We only saw like legs, we saw wings. We didn't really see anybody fully realized. And it's like, I don't know. I wanted more from this. I wanted just a little bit more. I do like the idea of her brother, and the fact that, it's a stereotypical, oh, her brother is succumbing to this disease or apocalypse or whatever, and it's a race against the clock to cure it. Okay, that's standard stereotypical, but I still got a sort of relationship between the two of them that, made sense and made me feel a little bit connected. But I don't know. And I do like this villain that we get who is just completely pitch black. Like, I think that is really, really interesting. It reminds me of those paints that don't reflect light. I feel he covered himself that's like in the ultra black. I feel like he covered himself in it, but it is my biggest gripe on it is the art, because I feel like, hear me out, this feels like anything Scott Snyder could have written, because it's Tony S. Daniel, because Tony S. Daniel has worked so much on DC and on Batman, that it feels like, honestly, it feels like Noctara, if that's her name, and I don't even know if that's her name or if that's just the name of the universe Scott has created. She looks like every standard, like, it looks like it could be Helena Bertinelli. It looks like it could be Selena Kyle. There's nothing special about this character. And I just want a different artist. I understand they're friends. I understand this is a project that they realized. I will kickstart. Listen, I'm going to start my Kickstarter today. We're going to redo Noctara with a different artist. Everything's going to be the same. I just want different art on it. If you are an artist, redo a panel of Noctara, redo a page of Noctara, do it in your own style, and DM me or CC me on it, because I'm curious to see how much different this book could be with elevated artwork. That's all. Tony S. Daniel is now going to block me on Twitter if he sees this. Probably. And it's just going to live in the Rob Liefeld league. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's generic. It's generic as fuck. It feels like this is a book that could have came out, at least in terms of the way it looks. It looks like something that could have came out mid to late 2000s.
I was going to go ahead and say, like, yes, 100% mid 2000s. I feel like if this book was done in the mid 2000s, like, this cover would have been done by Michael Turner, and like her waist would have been like, she would have been like one of those girls.
You're right. This would have been a Michael Turner variant.
Yeah, this would have been a Michael Turner variant. And it would be in a dollar bin. So, 20 years from now, I think it'll be in the dollar bin too.
And I do. I feel like it was so hyped up. And it's supposedly with all of the covers that it had, it's already gone to second printing, which I call instant BS on it. I think that is that the truth, or are you just trying to get me on that? Because yeah.
Don't worry. We'll get blocked. I'm just kidding. So what I want to say is this book was really, really good. And Scott Snyder, if you really want to come on our show and you want to talk about how good this book was, I'm so sorry. But I didn't love it. Let's talk about witches, and let's talk about why. Can we get kickstarted witches, please and thank you? That's my request.
I don't understand why that book still hasn't come out, because it's like he has time to pay Mars's electric bill. Listen, do I need to turn on my light? I will turn on my light. Do I need to turn on my light? I was trying to get ambient mood lighting. Ooh, but listen, just for you, Oregon, we're going to turn on the light, and it's going to be this ugly light. All right, I got you, fam. There we go. Mood lighting. Ruined. Completely ruined. We've broken through Noctara. Listen, I had my light off strictly for Noctara. It was all a ruse. It was a theme.
There you go. Because doesn't that lighting just suck? Because you wouldn't have that lighting in a comic book. I'm just kidding. And then I've got like disaster bisexual lighting behind me.
I would kill to have your lighting. In the apocalypse, I would kill to have your lighting, period. So on to a book that we didn't hate, because I know there's another one in our list that we absolutely kind of hated. So I feel like we can't do that back to back. Marvel had some good hits this week. Let's talk about an unexpected one that I actually picked up last minute and did not expect to love. And that is America Chavez.
I thought it was going to be a different book.
Made in the USA. No, I literally was looking at this book on the shelf and I was like, that's a really nice Stephanie Hans book. I really like that cover. And was reading through it, and I really, yeah, we all know that you love this book. She spent that DB money.
Yeah. Normally I refer to my dumb bitch money when I'm buying stuff like casual fling, where I'm like, this is the tax that I have to pay for being a dumb bitch. But this was good and it was worth it. So if you see it on your shelf, go buy it.
This was a good one. So I don't know too much about America, aside from what I read of her in West Coast Avengers. And I think she's popped up in a couple other books here and there. I had tried reading her first solo series and couldn't get into it. It was very rough for me to read and kind of flip through multiverses. And I wasn't crazy about that. But also, too, the fact that Kate Bishop shows up in this book, I was like, all right, I'm going to pick up this book, whatever.
Yeah.
I fell in love with this book. Because this book really does touch on the idea of found family, my biggest trope, and that's my favorite trope in media. But I think it also serves as a really great origin and stepping stone place for America. So if you haven't read an America book before, I feel like this is a very, very great book for you to jump into because it does give you some backstory a little bit, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel like you know more about this character than I do, but I feel like it's kind of reinventing and sort of adding some stuff into her origin, which to me, I think it makes sense as to what they're adding. And I know there's some people that are a little upset with it, that they're erasing, you know, her queer moms and this and that, but I don't look at it that way. Like her type of story feels like a very Clark Kent, Superman falls to earth sort of story and is raised by family. And so she now has two families, much like Clark Kent and Superman does. And I don't know. I just really liked it. And this book was engaging. I thought the dialogue was really great. It was a fun and easy read. And correct me if I'm wrong again, but I feel like this is this only 4 issues or something like that? It's a mini series.
No, don't tell me that. I think it is a mini series, but I thought it was going to be like 6 or 5. It very well might be 4 because I feel like they do that to all the characters that I really like. Is they're like, we're only going to give you Marvel, who's probably one of the biggest properties right now owned by Disney, can only give us 4 issues of America Chavez, the same amount of issues that AWA will give to fucking Casual Fling. So this is a lot more important.
100%. I'm looking it up right now because I'm curious because listen, I have so much on my pull list right now. So much on my pull list. And if you want to know what's on my pull list, I did just publish a new video, so there's some really nice promotion right there, cross promotion. But it is 5 issues. Okay, so split the difference. I have so much on my pull list right now, but this just made me feel really, really good, and it made me want to continue reading it. So I might have to flex a little bit and add America Made in the USA to it because this was I know I keep saying it's good, but if I'm being honest with you, it was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. I also forgot that she was in Kieran Gillian's Young Avengers. So Scott, thank you for reminding me because I did read that too, even though that book makes 0 sense to me and I am so confused about that entire run, if I'm being honest. But that's Kieran Gillian for you.
I think that there, and I'm trying to find it, but I've got a lot of books here. But one of the books that I did read recently was the Miss Marvel, like the new compacted Miss Marvel, and it was like 12 issues. It was like a little small thing. This is not it right here, but it was basically like just a small. This is Flash Facts, which was really cute. But they did a little. Maybe it was actually. I also got the Strange Adventures. So basically,
I want to pick that up.
Like one of the tiny little ones, and it was really cute. So I really hope that they do like a tiny little trade paperback of Miss Marvel or of America Chavez the way they did Miss Marvel, because it was so like I feel like this is really cute in a like wholesome, but it's telling a really good story type way. So if you did read America Chavez Made in the USA, Made in made in the USA, then you would definitely like Miss Marvel as well. And you should, or if you've read Miss Marvel, you would really like America Chavez. Go pick both
Also,
up.
Hawkeye Kate Bishop by Kelly Thompson, which is in another one of those really cute collected volumes. So I think this is nice. Also, listen, Marvel, let me put it out into the universe. I've been waiting so long. Can you please just make Kate and America girlfriends, like actual girlfriends instead of implied girlfriends? Like,
Please
listen,
and thank you.
Anybody who calls another character princess, interesting. That's gay to me, guys.
Yeah, that's some like daddy energy right there.
That's gay to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, man, I like when books do that. When I look at something on a shelf and I'm like, it wasn't on my original list, because I do pre-order everything in advance. So everything I always pick up, from variants to new series, first issues, I always pre-order through previews. So like very rarely will I pick up something outside of that list, that planned list. But there was just something about that book that made me want to pick it up. And I love, in the few cases that it has happened, where I pick up a book and I end up falling in love with it. So it's like, maybe I need to add even more to my list. I don't know.
Yes. Sorry, just replying to the chat. One of the other books, was it Marvel this week? I don't think that you got this one, but I've been absolutely loving this series. And there was a lot from Marvel that came out this week. I don't think that you got these two, so I'll go ahead and pull them out. One, Gwenum versus Carnage. It was a King in Black tie-in, and it was only 3 issues. So I'm curious how they're going to wrap this one up with, like if they're going to do a trade and maybe just put it in the back of King in Black, or if they're going to do a couple of the tie-ins and do like a trade. But yeah. I really, really enjoyed this. I thought that it was cute the way that these two characters were like, because you get Ghost Spider-Gwen, basically saying, hey, like, Noel has taken you over. But that's not you. Like, this is just your, there's a phrase that like, I feel like I learned, like, and I know it doesn't always work, but like whenever I get into those depressive moods, because I deal with that, I always have to tell myself, it's not me, it's the shell that I'm in. It's a chemical imbalance due to like a lack of serotonin or whatever the fuck it is. So
or it was all the sugary stuff that we were fed in the 90s.
Yeah, that too. 100%. And so I just think that, like, you know, when I think about dealing with mental health issues, and I'm just like, it's not you, it's the shell that you're in. It's a chemical imbalance, and it's not your fault. So I feel like that was the conversation here, that Gwen is having with MJ, and she's basically like, hey, this horrible person that you feel like being, like, I understand it's consuming you right now, but it's not you. It's the suit that you are in. Like, it's literally like this thing wrapped around you. It's okay, baby girl. And they kind of face some demons that they've had in the past with one another. And I felt like it was really, really good. I could read 100 more issues of this. It was great. So Gwenum versus Carnage, King in Black tie-in, ended up, I almost like it more than the regular King in Black. So really
that's
good.
one I definitely want to pick up at some point, because you talk so much about it and how great it is, and it's like, man, I should have picked that one up too.
The other one that I really enjoyed this week was King in Black, Wiccan and Hulkling. This one was pretty fun. I think it's also going to be, because it's a King in Black tie-in, so I think this one's also going to be a limited series, maybe 3 or 4. But we've got Hulkling, who basically, you know, just got, he's like king or emperor or whatever it is, and he's basically assuming his role as a king or whatever it is. I forget. I mostly forgot what was going on with the empire stuff. But basically they've been, they're on their, like, they're trying to assume royal duties, and it's just overwhelming. They try to go on vacation, which I thought was really cute, and it ends up being their honeymoon. So like there's so many like cute little romantic moments where they try to like sneak in a kiss together, and they just can't because like something will happen, and the King in Black Knoll stuff is invading, and so they just can't get a quiet moment to kiss, and you know they finally do get it. So I just want to see more of them smooching. So I did get these two covers.
And the covers are absolutely gorgeous.
Yep, because there's this one, if you can see beyond my like weird Christmas lights, and then the Peach Momoko version as well. So, whee!
Speaking of Peach Momoko, I think we should just dive right into it. And since we're on a Marvel topic, look at that segue.
I think so.
Segue.
Too.
Also, I channeled Jen this week, and I also went ahead and spent some dumb bitch money because I bought 3 variants for oh no, where's the other one? 3 variants for X-Men Demon Days.
And you got is that Art Germ? Is that who that is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I will buy anything and everything that is Art Germ, and I hate it. So it's fine. It's whatever. We're okay here. But also this Mark Brooks, his artwork is absolutely gorgeous, and everything he does is just perfect and sublime. And thank you for that, I guess. I don't know. I had low expectations for this one because I just looked at it and I was like, all right, we're going to have a Mirka Andolfo situation where it's going to be a really great artist that might not be able to write and carry a story all the way through. But this really, really shocked me. And I'm really, really glad about that because I've been on a manga kick lately. Mm-hmm. And this felt like a manga. It felt like a manga or like a Studio Ghibli movie come to life with a reimagining of X-Men. And I really personally... Ooh, very nice. I personally liked just reading it and kind of because this is a retelling, or not retelling, but a reimagined world for the X-Men and for the Marvel Universe. And it's actually going to continue because it's announced that there is going to be a second issue which features Black Widow, which I'm really, really excited about. But it's like a retelling of the X-Men universe in feudal Japan. And as I guess Psylocke is going on this adventure, and we end up finding out towards the end that it's almost like a storybook that's being told to us. So it feels very storybook-like and fantasy-esque. Yeah. And I love these stories, and I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end with what I picked up this week. But I like stories like this because I like, as a fan, kind of trying to go through and pick out ones that aren't as obvious. Like, obviously, we know, they have Venom pop up. You have Psylocke pop up. You have Hulk. her wolf. Oh, we have Hulk. We have her wolf companion who is named Logan. And then at one point, I feel like the one character in here, while they don't call her it by name, I feel like it's Jubilee.
What? Which one's Jubilee? Are you talking about Ryuku or what's her name?
I feel like Ryuku might be a play off of Jubilee because if you think about it, her color scheme is pink and yellow, much like Jubilee, and she specializes in fireworks.
How the fuck did I not notice that?
Like, I don't know.
I love Jubilee.
I figured you would have picked up on that because I almost texted you and I'm like, what is Jubilee's real name?
I totally get it. That is 100% Jubilee. I'm literally like, I opened to this page right here where you see. And that is totally Jubilee. Oh my god.
And then I'm not wondering too if the other main character, while they don't call her that by name, I'm not wondering if that's is it Dawnstar? Is her name the Archer girl from X-Men? I don't know her a whole lot because I haven't read a whole lot with her, and I'm not big into New Mutants, surprisingly enough. But like I said, I just think this was
thinking that it was Wolfsbane. Because
that's what I'm thinking of. That's who I'm thinking of, I think.
And it could be Danny Moonstar. It could be Danny Moonstar because her name, I looked it up and her name translates to moon, so it's Danny Moonstar. Let me go ahead and see. Suki. So Suki means moon in Japanese. So it would be Danny Moonstar. Yeah.
Okay. So then I was right. That's who I was thinking of, was Danny Moonstar. Mm-hmm. I think Dawnstar I'm thinking of is DC and a very similar looking character, which is wrong on my part, but I'm new to X-Men, so I'm trying to learn everything I can. But not only that, speaking of like just liking X-Men, you could tell that there was a lot of love and thought put
So
into
much.
this universe that she created. Like, she just wanted to do something fun and do something different. And Marvel was like, you know what? Your variants sell like hotcakes. You basically print us money. Sure, whatever you want to do, let's try it out. And I was shocked that it was as good as it was. And if I'm being honest with you, I could read like 20 more copies of this. I could read so much of this, and I know that we are getting that second one in May. I hope that we're getting like a third and a fourth and a fifth, because it was, or I'm sorry, in June. Because it was so much fun. It really was. It was a light, fun, caring read. I feel like this is a great read for a lot of casual readers, because it is a one shot. Well, it's a one shot, but it's also going to carry out into like the sequel stories. But you could read this and then never read another one. But
you'd want to read another one.
You'd want to read more, but it's just fun and it's great. And I don't know. I really liked this one this week. It was just a lot of fun. And it was another one of those where I had really, really low expectations, and it blew me away, and it was just really great.
Yeah. Especially like you said, I feel like the love and the care that Peach put into it. Because you're right, this could have definitely gone the way of Mirka Andolfo, where Mirka Andolfo's writing is beautiful. They get a lot of attention for doing these absolutely stunning covers. I have nothing wrong, or I have nothing against their covers. They're incredible, but the stories just don't make any sense. And this, I honestly, after reading this, I wanted to watch Princess Mononoke again, because that's probably my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. And man, I loved it. So I'm really excited to see what we get the next issue, because like you said, it goes into Black Widow. So I really hope that there are also 4 covers for that too. 5 covers, 6 covers.
I'll buy them all.
There were.
Well, like I'm excited for it, because it's going to be like a little scavenger hunt again. It's going to be like trying to find all of the little characters that she's put in. So super excited.
Speaking of Usagi Yojimbo, Peach Momoko actually does some Usagi Yojimbo covers. I've picked up a couple random ones because they are absolutely incredible. So let's go. Oh, and then Peach is doing a Carnage cover. Excited for that.
She's doing mad work right now. Like, every time you turn around, she's doing something new. And then it's like, it feels like she's one of the rare artists where she's doing so much, and yet she still has time to do like little stuff for herself. And I'm just like, she's incredible. She's amazing.
Really quick, while we're on, did you read any other Marvel books?
I did not. That was all I had for Marvel.
I do have 2 other Marvel books that I got this week. I did end up getting Captain America, and I think that was the only book that I actually didn't read. It tied into King in Black, and I think that I just missed this one on my pile because I can't remember reading it. However, there was a really cute Captain Marvel Spider-Gwen team up that I thought was really cute, because Spider-Gwen is basically auditioning to be part of the crew. I thought that this was absolutely adorable, and it's one of the ones that IDW is doing, so it's not solely Marvel, it's with IDW as well. Once again, if you liked this, I think that you should also pick up the Miss Marvel story, because it gave me similar vibes. But the other one I read, which I know that you don't love Jedi, and I don't actually really love Star Wars, but I really did love this issue of Star Wars High Republic, and the reason why is because it gave me Star Trek vibes. So if you don't really like a lot of Star Wars and you really, really love Star Trek, maybe read Star Wars High Republic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it was really fun. I felt like she was, I don't know, it kind of gets into that, like, to me, that morally gray, like she's doing something that she knows, what is it, Kiev is her name. She's doing things her way and not the way it's supposed to be done, but it's the right thing to do. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What were some of the, so that was pretty much it for Marvel. I did pick up some random ass Marvel back issues, but I'll maybe throw those in later.
Do. I figured, why not we just skip over to DC Comics, or do you have something else?
I have one more, and I'm just gonna throw it up maybe behind me because, of course, I know you got this one too. Because we basically texted each other, and I'm like, "Hey, girl, you get this?" And you're like, "Yeah, did you get it?" Because so we we're
Because if
both
we
trying
didn't,
to.
we were gonna buy it for each other.
Yeah. Got this one. It's the Jen Bartel Women's History Month. This one is your girl, She-Hulk. So look
Girl.
at that like boss ass bitch
With the
blazer that she's
like,
wearing.
I might have to buy 4 different covers because I want to have one at home. I want to have one on my desk at work, and I need it everywhere, completely everywhere.
So there we go. We can't really see it. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop into some DC.
We'll hop right on over into DC now that Future State is ending, and I'm just like, oh my god, thank God DC Future State is done, and we can finally be moving on with our lives. But there's a lot of
Speaking of,
really great new stuff coming.
there is, and speaking of DC Future State ending, I feel like I went in and I'm like, I'm getting every single DC Future State book there is. I'm going to read all of them. It's going to be great and it's fantastic. There's this really cool creator lineup, and honestly, there were so many stories that just didn't land for me. I don't know what the hell went wrong. I could do editor notes and be like, this is what DC needed to do. But anyways, I actually enjoyed my reading this week because I didn't have to read 7 fucking Future State books that made no goddamn sense whatsoever. So I know that, like, for me, there were stories for Future State that I really, really, really enjoyed, right? Like the Wonder Woman. I enjoyed the Swamp Thing, Catwoman. Fucking surprisingly, I loved Superman versus Imperious Lex was one of my favorites. Kara Zor-El and Aquaman. But honestly, the Batman stories I thought I was going to love, and I didn't. And I'm so sad.
Harley Quinn was another good one.
Harley Quinn was good as well. Yeah. I think that maybe it was really just I didn't like the Flash stories. I didn't like the Green Lantern stories. I didn't like Dark Detective. And what was it? Was there Teen Titans? It was like 2 weeks ago, and it's a fucking blur.
Teen Titans was boring. Immortal Wonder Woman, I feel like if it wasn't for the flashy Jen Bartel art, I feel like that one would have fallen on the wayside.
I needed more.
Yeah. I know I didn't pick it up, but I would like to talk about it just briefly because I may pick it up at some point, but I'm also not going to pay $6 for a book for 3 panels. But I would just love to be able to touch on Infinite Frontier, because Infinite Frontier #0 made me break down in my local comic book shop because I was like, oh, let me just pick this up. Let me just flip through it and see what's going on, because Infinite Frontier, of course, is supposed to set up everything to go forward. And there was a bunch of like mini stories in it. Some were like a couple pages long. There was a Black Canary and Green Arrow one, which almost had me pick it up, but it was 1 page long. And I'm like, I'm not going to pick up a $6 book for 1 page or 3 pages or whatever. However, there is an Alan Scott Green Lantern story. And I texted you about this, where he officially, I guess, comes out to, and I always thought he was out. I thought he was out for a while. But he comes out to the rest of the Justice Society. And like Barbalian, hit me like a bag of bricks, because he talks about how there was a couple people in the league that knew, and you know, he's just kind of like scared and worried about what his friends and his colleagues will think of him. And then you have Jade, who's his daughter, be like, you know, Dad, you're still my dad. Like, it doesn't matter if you're gay or you're straight or whatever, you're still my dad. And I'm like, what is with these comic book companies coming out of the woodworks with these queer ass books? And I'm like, what the hell? Like,
and doing it in such a way that's so like nuanced and so emotional, because I feel like we either get like 2 sides, right? Like we either get those, and I don't want to say like, oh, it's just shoved in your face, because like, please, like shove all the queer stories in my face, like literally. But I feel like it's like queer without context, right? And then there's these stories that like could literally have no backstory whatsoever, but they drop these moments in such a like beautiful, nuanced way. Like I didn't read that book. I don't know how I ended up not picking it up in my confusion of all these like books. I ended up not grabbing it. But for like that panel, like it tugged, like tugged
It
at my
hits you.
heartstrings.
It hits you, and I'm like, because I believe, and I don't know if I'm wrong, and the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't really read a lot of like the Green Lantern New 52 stuff, but I know Alan Scott was involved, and I believe that was the first instance where they briefly touched upon him being gay and they gave him a husband. But if I'm being honest with you, that point it felt like they threw it in just to be politically correct, or they did it just for shock value. Whereas this felt like, if I'm being honest with you, it almost felt like this was DC correcting that mistake, where it was like, we're sorry that we kind of just threw it in there as a background thing. And don't get me wrong, queer characters in comics and superheroes, whatever you name it, being queer should not be the center of their character. Now that being said, Kate Kane, yes, that is.
I was just about to say,
Kate Kane,
that's literally
complete center of her character.
We literally did an entire show talking about Batwoman, and like my biggest thing when it comes to Batwoman being queer is like it is part of her character. And I like what I love about it is that you can really see like even in the last 20 years how much things have changed, like because such a big part of her storyline with Kate Kane Batwoman is that she's queer but she's in the Marines, and she literally has to choose between being openly queer and being in the military, and because of don't ask don't tell,
and carrying on her family's legacy, and it's a big deal.
And she literally chooses like being open and being honest because that's more important than anything else. Like that's where her like moral north star is, and that means so much more than being in the military, means being like just open and queer. So we literally like that's pretty much our first live stream was we did a show about Batwoman.
We did. But it always felt like DC was correcting the mistake of we need to give this character a proper coming out. Rather than just kind of it being a background. And again, what I was kind of touching on was, coming out shouldn't be the focus on a queer character. A queer character should just be queer because they are queer. But because they had already but because they had already done something with that character, it did feel like it needed to be corrected. And something that really hit me is Andy Kahori, who was a big editor for DC Comics and who I still follow on Twitter because I absolutely love all the work he did. And unfortunately, he was a part of the major DC layoff, which to me is completely insane because if it wasn't for him, you would not have books like Far Sector. We wouldn't have books like Omega Men. We wouldn't have books like even Green Arrow Rebirth. He really did push the boundaries on a lot of these DC comic characters. And he even made the comment of, a book like Infinite Frontier Zero and a story that is in Infinite Frontier Zero. And I now know that he was referring to that story. We wouldn't be able to see a book like that 10 years ago, meaning New 52. So it's like, okay, I'm sitting here with my little puzzle board. I'm mapping out all the pieces and I'm realizing everything. And I'm also confirming that Dan Didio was the root of all evil. So like, there we go, y'all. We figured it out. The evil has been defeated. But I don't know, it felt right. It really felt right that Alan Scott was finally able to, accept who he was.
Yeah. I, even though it's like a spoiler, like I totally know what's going to happen. I can't wait to pick it up and read it, which I'll probably do on Wednesday or whenever I get those books. So
now on to a book that I actually did read from DC Comics and not just a couple pages in my local shop and sort of cried. Sensational Comics Wonder Woman #1, which I have been ridiculously excited for this book because I really love anthology stories featuring Wonder Woman. I feel like, can I be honest with you? I know I made a Wonder Woman video with Wonder Woman recommendations, but there are not that many good Wonder Woman comics. And I feel like the reason why that is because she can get very convoluted very, very quickly, and it can get very messy very, very quickly. So I feel like having Wonder Woman in these nice little concise 1 to 3 issue stories is the best way to present her, because then we really get to see what Wonder Woman means.
So really really quick, I think the reason why that ends up happening is because when it comes to Wonder Woman, what I feel like is everyone wants to rewrite Wonder Woman in their own way. Like everyone wants to literally reinvent the wheel when it comes to Wonder Woman's origin story. Like, where did she actually come from? And like all of these things. And a lot of times, in my opinion, they are written by people who don't deserve Wonder Woman, right? Who want to make the story more about them as a writer and redoing it rather than doing it right for Wonder Woman. So that being said, this one shot, I loved it.
I loved it. So for those of you that don't know, Sensational Comic or Sensational Wonder Woman is a digital first series. So it comes out originally on Comixology and on, I believe, some type of DC comic app, but I'm not sure since they got rid of DC Universe. But it is a digital series first, and then they go and they re-release it in paper format, much like the Injustice Gods Among Us series. And there was, I think the original Sensational Wonder Woman comic that came out a couple years ago was the same way. However, so with this one, I absolutely love this. I really, really like this first issue. I really, really like this solo story where it puts Wonder Woman and Diana in her biggest nightmare ever. And that is being married, traditional homemaker, home style life, 1950s style.
Which is so funny. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is so funny. Sorry, because if you didn't know, like Wonder Woman was basically created. I mean, most people probably know the lore. Wonder Woman was created by a dude that was in a polyamorous relationship with two other women who like continued a relationship together way after he died and raised kids together. So you're right. It's so funny to see Wonder Woman be like, get me the fuck out of here.
Get me out of this. So this is written by Stephanie Phillips, who did Nuclear Family from Aftershock Comics, which we talked about last week. She's also doing the upcoming Harley Quinn and did Harley Quinn Future State. So it's written really, really well. It also features a guest appearance by my favorite heroine in the whole world, and that is Hawk Girl Kendra Saunders. So if you're a Hawk Girl fan, and she actually shows up for more than a couple panels, so if you love Hawk Girl, you may want to pick up this book. My only gripe with it is the marketing of this book, because it's got this 1950s vibe, much like another very, very popular piece of media that everybody is consuming right now. It's a little show if you haven't watched it. It's called WandaVision. It's available right now on Disney Plus. Season series or series end just aired. Disney sponsored the show. So
no, because then I couldn't drink. Truly, please.
And we couldn't drink. So this book literally feels like I'm reading an episode of WandaVision, but I'm replacing it with Wonder Woman and Hawk Girl and Dr. Psycho, who, by the way, first of all, I love Dr. Psycho as a villain, and I feel like he's a character that we don't see often enough in Wonder Woman comics, despite being one of her leading villains. Mm-hmm. So I really, really liked seeing him. This book needed to be marketed different. Okay, this cover is great. This cover would have been wonderful for a variant cover. If you had slapped a 1950s lady killer WandaVision looking Wonder Woman on the cover, this book would have sold so many more copies, especially with the hype surrounding it. And I understand that this book, being a digital comic first, might have been coming out before or along the same sliding scale as when WandaVision was airing, but we have seen DC Comics slap and replace covers before, like a Thanos. So they could have easily gone in and replaced one of these covers, saved one of these covers for a later issue, and marketed more, because people, listen, even casual readers see a 50s looking pinup not 50s pinup, but like 50s housemaker, homemaker looking Wonder Woman on the cover. So many people are going to buy it. And I'm going to pick it up because it's Wonder Woman and it's the first issue, but I almost didn't pick this up because I was like, oh, I'll just wait for it to come to trade. But if you had shown me that, and when I was flipping through it, I was like, okay, well, I'm immediately going to buy this, because that's the other thing. The artwork in this book is absolutely gorgeous. It's done by Megan Hetrick. And while I'm not really familiar with her work, it is bright, it is vibrant, it is stylistic. I was going to call it cartoony, but I'm going to go with stylistic because it's not as cartoony as you would think. And I really, really like this. I like this issue. I would recommend this to like 20 more people. I would give this to 20 more people for them to read, especially if they had never read a Wonder Woman comic. And I really, really like the fake out that they give you, because you think her perfect man is Steve Trevor. And I'm like, all right, I'm tired of seeing Diane with Steve Trevor. Steve Trevor is a plot device at this point. You heard it here first. Steve Trevor is in fact a plot device for Diana Prince.
Ooh, flipping the script, flipping the switch, flipping the script there.
Flipping the switch, but it ends up being just some random generic dude, and then she breaks, I guess, the simulation. But this was a good one. So if this was not on your radar to pick up, and you're a fan of DC, if you like Wonder Woman, if you just want a fun book, pick this one up and read it, because I like this one. This one was fun.
Yeah, I agree. And I really wish that I do want to see more of Wonder Woman and Hawk Girl together. I'm really not too familiar with Hawk Girl, and I really wish that there was more like of a Hawk Girl solo series. So I'd really love to see that. And 100% you're right. And I feel like if you did read this one and you like it, then DC Vertigo did Hex Wives a while back. You might like that. I honestly didn't love Hex Wives, but I think
I had a lot of issues with it.
It felt more like the conversation. Anyways, Hex Wives is basically about these witches who are basically trapped by these men in the FBI or something. That's what it felt like. But anyways, it was very much similar to this, but it's so funny that you said lady killer vibes, because 100% seeing that like housewife who like can kind of secretly kick ass, really, really good. So
it was fun. It was a good time. I want 10 more of it.
Yeah. Can I talk about like probably my favorite of the week?
Because we all know what it is. If you don't know what it is, then obviously you don't hang around here. If you don't know what Jen's pick of the week is going to be, knowing what books came out this week. And I'll even narrow it down and say the books that came out from DC Comics this week. So, if you haven't guessed it by now.
I love Swamp Thing so much. I love it. I am actually, even though I love this book, I love Rom V, I love Swamp Thing. I'm actually kind of glad that this is only 10 issues, because I feel like if it was any more than that, it may be a little bit too much. Berserker. Yeah, Berserker was actually my favorite book of the week. We will dive right into Berserker, but first, Swamp Thing, who is like... I wish Swamp Thing could be my boyfriend, because I think his character is so interesting. The way that Rom V is writing this, you got a chance to read Swamp Thing, right, or no?
I didn't pick it up. My shelf didn't have anymore, so I didn't pick it up. So I'm just gonna trade weight it. So I figured you would tell me all about it anyway.
Yeah. So I really love how this goes. This is going to be a new Swamp Thing character. It's not going to be any of the previous iterations of it. But one thing that I do love about this is that I feel like it's blending a lot of Americana mythology, but with the it explores a lot of the there is I'm trying to figure it out right here. The character is either Pakistani or Indian. I cannot recall. But I love how there's like this blending of mythology. And man, he's almost like trying to figure out who he is. Like, is he Swamp Thing? Is he Levi? His name is Levi. Who is he? So he's like struggling with this, and I love that, like, am I the man or am I the monster type thing, and how do I reconcile that I'm actually both? So I really can't wait for that to be explored in Swamp Thing. So so good, so good. I loved it so much.
So it lived up to all your expectations.
It probably would have been really hard for this to not live up to my expectations, because it probably could have been done by Mirka Andolfo, and I would have been like, it was my favorite book of the week, y'all. I'm just kidding. This was actually really, really good. I got both covers.
Of course you did. She would have bought 100 covers if she would have had the chance.
And I didn't. I only bought There was another Batman book that came out, Batman 106. I thought this was kind of fun. It goes into the a little bit of ish with Scarecrow, and I will be completely honest. I have no clue what's going on in like DC right now as far as the Batman and whatever the fuck is going on with like Joker killer person, but I knew
I
that
don't
there
think
was
any
going
of
to
us know
be
what's going on at this point.
yeah, I don't think even that James Tinian knows what's going on, but whatever. But it was enjoyable. I have no clue what's going on, so I can't really talk great about it. But I thought it was really fun. It's going into this like moment with Scarecrow and this sense of like superstition. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, what's the superstitions? How are the people of Gotham superstitious? And basically saying like, who the fuck would want to live in like Gotham City? You'll get murdered by some like Joker wannabe.
You would get murdered. Why would you want to live there? Why
Yeah.
anybody continues to live in Gotham after seeing everything that has happened? Listen, if you live in Gotham, then I guess you deserve for Gotham stuff to happen to you, I guess. Also, I put in the comments, do not let me write Wonder Woman. I would be awful at it. Give me some D-list character nobody cares about, like Granny Goodness. Let me write you some Jason Todd goodness. Let me write you some Amanda Waller goodness. Do not let me write a character like Wonder Woman. That is just a character that is too far beyond my reach. And I could never, ever do that character justice, ever. Let me write Hawkman. I will write a good
Hawk
Hawkman
Girl.
for you.
I want like a good like Hawk Girl series. Please, if anyone has any Hawk Girl recommendations, I want to know because it's a character I'd love to explore. I have one like Hawkman book and that's it.
You know who you're friends with, right? You know that Hawk Girl was literally the first character that I became obsessed with in DC Comics, so I made sure to read everything Hawk Girl related. I got you. I will give you all the Hawk Girl recs.
And so I guess Mars's next video should be a Hawk Girl recommended reading list specifically.
Now here's the question. Which Hawk Girl do you want? Because there's about 10 different Hawk Girls that I could cover.
Tell me which Hawk Girl that I need. Y'all, I'm just waiting for Mars to like message me at like 2:00 in the morning and being like giving me just like a video rundown of her shelf and be like, you need to read this one and you need to read this one and this one's really good, so you need to read this one because that's how we review books here.
I got you, girl. I got you. So I think that was all that I picked up from DC. I almost picked up Suicide Squad. However, I am sick and tired of seeing that dumbass Peacemaker character, John Cena looking ass. Listen, all I see when I see that character is I think of John Cena. And the fact that he is like in the movie, okay, he's in the movie, that's fine, whatever. Now DC's going to give him his own show. And I'm like, I don't know why. There's a lot of other characters that deserve a show or a movie or whatever, and he ain't one. That's fine. Now you're gonna shove him in my Suicide Squad comic as the leader, and you're gonna push Deadshot. Oh wait, Deadshot's dead. So I guess. Oh, now I'm sad because I just remembered he's dead. But like he's on the variants. He's in the cover. I think he's getting a one shot at some point, and I'm like, tired of this Peacemaker guy. I don't even know who he is. And I don't care who he is at this point. I just let me go back to good Suicide Squad traditional roots. Give me another Secret Six book even. I will gladly take another Secret Six book. Give me Catman. Give me Bane. Give me Scandal Savage again. I don't even care. But it just looked dumb and generic. And flipping through that book and seeing them throw Superboy in at the end. And I'm like, we were doing so well with Infinite Frontier and Future State, and now you want to do this. I'm just tired. Also, what? I love that.
Yeah. So give me like Swamp Thing dad bod all the way. Please and thank you. Like in some jeans, like just doing the one pose where he's like looking behind and like he's got like maybe a hand in his pocket and there's dad jeans, and then just like all of a sudden he just turns around and he's like, oh, I didn't see you there.
I'm going to end up photoshopping this at like 4 a.m. and just sending it to you and just seeing your reaction. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to frame it and send it out to you as a gift.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
We still have 3 books to get through for the week. At
3?
least 3. Well,
Yeah.
I have 3. You have a million dumb bee covers. So,
well, what are some of the books that what are your 3, and then I'll kind of go back and forth with mine. What are some of the
well,
notes?
I think maybe we should talk about this because people keep mentioning it in the chat. Also, yes, I want a Deadshot solo comic so bad. There is a really good Deadshot solo comic that I will DM over to you. I can't think of what it's called, but it was a mini series. It was like 4 or 5 issues long. It's so good. I will send it to you. I think it's called Deadshot Bulletproof, but do not quote me on that. I will find it and I will send it to you. But I think we should talk about this book because people have been mentioning it. My friends who are non-comic readers are talking about the Keanu Reeves book. And I'm like, yes, it's the Keanu Reeves book because that is literally how I can sum this book up. You hated Noctera, whatever. I hated Berserker. I read this book so hard. First of all, this book is $5. And that was the trend that I noticed this week with a lot of stuff I picked up is every book it felt like was $5. And I'm tired of comic book companies doing this. I mean, it's great. Berserker does have some extra pages. It's got this really nice matte cardstock. It's not even cardstock. It's just a matte cover that's really, really nice. Yeah. And you don't see that from comics. But please stop charging $5 for books. I can't do this anymore. I want to go back to the olden days. And when I say olden days, I mean, no, I'm fine with paying $2.99 a book. When I first started reading comics, they were $2.99 a book. If you were lucky, you got the fancy one and they were $3.99. I'd be like, okay, that's not too bad. I'm tired of $4.99 books. I'm tired of $6 books. I'm definitely tired of $8 and $10 books. Just stop. I'm done. Anyway, we're talking about Berserker now. Can you tell that I've had a little bit of sugar and a little bit of alcohol tonight? Yes, please and thank you. But we're here to talk about Berserker, and that is this book was so, I hate to say it because I don't want to use this term because it feels like such a dude bro book.
It really does, and not even in like the delightful himbo kind of way.
Not even in the fun way. Like you look at something like, and I feel like this is the second time I've brought up this movie. You look at something like Mad Max Fury Road, or you look at something like even Pacific Rim. These are things that feel like they should be dude bros, but then they end up being my favorite things, and they're action and they're fun and they're unique and incredible. This was just dumb action, and it wasn't even dumb action. I think it was just overly violent. So for about the first like 10 pages, you get like very little dialogue, and it's just Keanu Reeves, because we all know it's Keanu Reeves. It's Keanu Reeves.
It's Keanu Reeves writing himself.
Which is the funniest thing to me. Also, this book is written by Matt Kindt, by the way. Don't let that fool you. And Matt Kindt, so the fact that Matt Kindt co-wrote this, and then co-wrote something as smart and as incredible, and I'm going to say it, as Crimson Flower. What is happening? Anyway, so it's just Keanu Reeves going through and beating up people, and even when people are begging and asking for mercy, he's like punching his way through their like heart. He's like breaking their legs, breaking their jaws, punching their way through their stomachs. And I'm like, what is with this obsessive violence that is this book? And what makes me really sad is like 3/4 of the way through the book, we finally get to see Keanu Reeves talk. And he talks
it's all bit. The entire thing is him just kind of like having like deep thoughts, like, when you've been around as long as me, things get a little bit bloody. Like, I just imagine I don't know.
We finally get into him, and he's talking with this like scientist chick lady about, how he's been around, like you said, for a million years, and like he's suffering, and he wants to finally end, and he's stuck with all of these thoughts, and he's been around for thousands of years because he says he's been around since like caveman time. Like that is literally
18,000 years. Spoiler alert.
No, 80,000 years.
80,000. Sorry.
This man is literally Vandal Savage without being Vandal Savage. And I'm like, this is actually kind of interesting. I was getting some Old Guard vibes to it. And I'm like, okay, you're dragging me in with this like eternal soldier shit where you're just like, you're wandering the world for centuries and you don't know what to do with yourself at this point. And you've kind of seen humanity, evolve and then kind of stagnate or whatever. And like, okay, that's kind of interesting to me. And we get this very, very awkward scene where it's a flashback, and I don't know if it's Keanu Reeves who is the baby, or yes, read Old Guard 100%, and then watch the Old Guard movie, and then read the Old Guard sequel, and then put the Old Guard anthology onto your pool list, which comes out next month.
Yeah.
But there's a scene, and I still can't figure out if Keanu Reeves is the baby or if he's the dad. It really doesn't. I think he's the baby. But the baby is breastfeeding. And I'm like, oh, okay, baby's best breastfeeding. And normal stuff, just girl things, you know, breastfeeding baby.
Yeah.
But
normal,
then I guess,
part of life.
but then I guess this baby breastfeeds so hard that his mother starts bleeding. And first of all, I'm like, that's just, ow, what the hell? Second of all, it brings up unnecessary violence once again. There's absolutely no reason for this scene to be in a comic, in a movie, in period. And I'm just like, I literally sat there and I was like this, and I'm like, what?
They're like, I just imagine the way that this was written is I imagine Keanu Reeves in the writer room, maybe like over FaceTime or Zoom with Matt Kint writing this, and it's just like, so there's this book, and you know, the person, it's basically me, and he's this guy, and he can't die, he's immortal, and he just fights, and he just punches and kicks, and he can't die, and it gets real bloody. He just goes no 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 no, and then they were like, thank you for talking, Keanu Reeves. And I have to say, like, I think that Keanu Reeves is a fantastic actor.
Oh yeah, I love him.
Because you know, I know Keanu Reeves is watching right now, so thank you. But this book, like, I would probably go and watch the movie, and I actually, like, I do enjoy the John Wick movies. Like, they're some of my, I don't want to call them guilty pleasures, because I don't think that anything should be a guilty pleasure. Like, if you like something and it's not hurting someone, you shouldn't be guilty about it. But this book right here, and the John Wick movies are so I don't want to say like unnecessarily violent, because I get it with those types of movies, because they're a spectacle.
And
But
they have to be entertaining.
yeah, but I will say, I'm sure this will become some type of Netflix, Hulu made for TV movie or something like that. I'm sure it'll get financed for that.
Does Keanu Reeves have his own production company? Because I could see it. Yeah. I could see it being under its own production company. I don't know. I wasn't expecting a lot from this book, because we all know that it's only selling copies because Keanu Reeves is attached to it. Not only that, but this is the other book that I was talking about that was kickstarted. So this book was announced. They pulled it from solicitations. Then it went to Kickstarter, was really successful on Kickstarter, and then they resolicited it in previews. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't understand why it was Kickstarted, and they're claiming that the reason why it was Kickstarted is because it's a bigger collected edition, and you can read the story in advance or whatnot. And I'm just like, I don't want to read this story in advance. I don't want to read this story, period. Like, Matt Kint can do better. Was this that Radio of Horror saying that this was the highest grossing comic on Kickstarter?
I believe it.
I feel like I remember hearing something like that. I thought Noctara was, but maybe Noctara got beat out by John Wick.
Yeah.
Which makes complete and total sense. But I'm sure that there's a market for this.
There is.
It ain't me. I don't like it. Don't want it. It's fine.
I'll still be buying it. I do. There's a like weird part of me there. I want it to prove me wrong, and I want to know that this book gets better. I want to know that this has a point. Like, maybe, I don't know necessarily that the like endless violence has a point, but I really do just want it to go somewhere, and I want to know that I read the first issue for a reason, and that it gets better.
Also, I have one final thought before we move away from Berserker. Does Keanu Reeves hate vowels? Because there are no vowels in Berserker. And it kind of bothers. Like, I think it's kind of cool, but at the same time, it bothers me. And I'm like, why? Where are the vowels?
I think what happened is that they came up with the idea for this, and they were just like, sorry, I had to get little kisses from this cat, and it broke my train of thought. I'm sorry, Luna. But I feel like they were in the writers' room, and they're like, yeah, there's this dude, and he just goes berserk. He's a berserker, and they're like, how do you spell berserker? And they're just writing it down, and they're like, I don't remember how to spell berserker. Let's, what we've got here is fine. We'll change it in post.
And they never did.
And they never did. So maybe that's babies. So at the end of this, there's the baby, who's obviously I think the Keanu Reeves character, who's just like, I don't know, like sucking that titty bloody, and that's his first word. He just like sucked on titty till the blood came out, and he was like berserker, blur. That's my
probably
conspiracy theory. So
conspiracy theory. Wait, it makes sense. It makes very sense. So maybe they killed a lot of dogs. He's been around for 80,000 years. I'm sure the man has had a lot of dogs in his lifetime. So maybe
and that's my thing. Like in these books like these, it's this person who's been around for 80,000 years, and the only thing you've learned is how to punch people in the face real good. Like, you could have literally figured out how to make other people immortal. You probably could have like solved poverty and diseases, but you punch real good.
Could have figured out who the Zodiac killer was.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ted Cruz.
Priorities.
There were some other books that came out.
There's some other books that we can talk about real quick, because I feel like we can touch this one briefly. And that is Joanna and the Impossible Monsters. This was cute, and it was an Oni Press book, and I feel like we never talk about Oni Press. I feel like we never pick up anything Oni Press. It feels like Oni Press doesn't publish comics as much anymore, and that makes me sad, because what they do publish seems very, very fun and very interesting. But this was just a really cute all ages story. I absolutely loved the artwork. It's got dinosaurs. It feels like this is just a fun all ages story, so right up there with books like Orcs. And more specific, The Last Witch, published from Boom Studios. I feel like if you're reading either of those books, I feel like this is a no-brainer pickup. For me, I feel like this is a trade wait to see where it goes. But I did like this one, and I just think it's pretty to look at.
I think that if you this week read Berserker and you need a palate cleanser, Jonna and the Impossible Monsters. This is your book to palate cleanse whatever taste is in your mouth from Berserker. That tasty, bloody titty that's in your mouth, that taste. Jonna and the Impossible Monsters is it for you. It was just really wholesome. And you're right. I feel like we don't talk about Oni Press as much because they don't come out with a lot. Like, even when we did our monthly roundup of all the new series, I think there was one Oni book on it. So I hope this isn't the only Oni book that's on the list, because they do come out with some really good stuff.
Yeah, Kaiju Max. A lot of people in the chat are talking about Kaiju Max. I have Kaiju Max somewhere. I just never got around to it. So Kaiju Max is like Kaiju Prison, but apparently it hits some really like deep stuff. I feel like that would be a book that you would really, really enjoy, because it gets really, really crazy really fast.
Ooh, yeah, I love crazy. I love weird.
And is surprisingly emotional from what I've heard about it. So maybe it's one that we'll all have to read together and talk about.
Yeah,
so, fun stuff. The last book that I have that I've been so excited for this book. I've literally waited over a year for this book. And it finally came out after being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And that is Dead Dog's Bite, Dark Horse comic. It's washing out there, but it exists, I promise. Yeah. My resolution today is awful, and I don't know why, and it's bothering me. But Dead Dog's Bite is a 4-issue miniseries from Tyler Boss, and I am a humongous fan of Tyler Boss. I don't know if you had read it or if anybody in the chat has read it, but Tyler Boss did a book with Matthew Rosenberg called 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank, published by Black Bass Studios. Probably one of my favorite comic books of all time. I'm not kidding. It is probably one of the most creative and inventive stories that I've ever read. I mean, it's a very simple premise, but it's the way that the story is presented to us as a comic that makes it work. And I was a little worried, because I'm like, when you see artists do their own thing, sometimes you kind of lose that magic. But after reading Dead Dog's Bite, I'm like, all right, so obviously in 4 Kids, Tyler Boss was a majority of the brains in that book because that style carries through. So this one has a very like Twin Peaks vibe to it, where it's a girl that goes missing and it's very confusing how, and the town itself is very, very weird. And you've got her girlfriend who is also working with the missing girls. So the missing girl has a girlfriend who's our main protagonist, but she also has a casual, maybe sometimes boyfriend. And it's the two of them trying to figure out where she went and why she went, why the town's acting so weird. It seems like a very strange and weird story, and it is. But can we just talk about the opening of this book and the weird man coming out of the manhole and being like, literally breaking the fourth wall and being like, hello, and thank you for being here. And I'm just like, that first bubble, I was like, all right, I'm in. It's on my pool list. Don't care. This is weird, wacky, fun. And I'm really, really enjoying it.
I honestly had no clue what I was going to get into with this book. I just knew that like there was Dead Dog's Bite, and I saw a very like low resolution picture of this cover, and I'm like, okay, I'll pick it up. But I feel like this was such an underrated hit. The cover gives me True Detective vibes. If anyone really liked that show, I loved season 1 and season 3 of True Detective were really good in my opinion, but season 2 was like meh. But Dead Dog's Bite, that like you said, that character that pops up, he reminds me of like either Ice Cream Man or Rod Serling from Twilight Zone, where he just kind of pops up and I don't know if he's like silently observing or if he is like narrating everything that's going on, but he is talking about what's going on, and I hear him in the Rod Serling voice from Twilight Zone. So
but I really like this book. This is going to be a book that you're definitely going to want to pick up issue to issue because it's only 4 issues, so it's probably going to be cheaper than picking it up by trade. I personally am like really shocked that you did not pick up the Ian Bertram variant because I know how much you love him as an artist.
can I tell you something right now? Like, I love Ian Bertram so much, and thank you for the kisses, sweet boy. But sorry, I guess you all can't see him like being sweet. But I literally just read E is for Extinction, The Mutants, and that book is a goddamn trip. And Ian Bertram does the covers, and now I'm like, I need to pick up every single issue of this. I'm sure it's like hated, but anyways. I did not know there was an Ian Bertram cover for this, and now I'm going to be on the hunt for that. I really, really hope that they still have some.
This was just I don't want to say fun because there's nothing fun about murder and mystery and missing people, but it's the dialogue and the way that the characters present themselves to each other, and just the conversation. Like I said, this feels almost like a sequel to 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank in its own weird sort of way. And I think that is because of Tyler Boss's art. But you can obviously see where he kind of stole some of that Matthew Rosenberg style of writing where it's a good book. That's all I'm going to say is slap my pool quote on the back. It's a good book.
Yeah. 100% underrated. I think if you like these indie stories, I think that Dead Dog's Bite is definitely going to be it. I feel like I'm blanking out here, but I did We Can Never Go Home. I did read that with Dan when we did our graphic novel book club several months ago.
Graphic novel book club for We Can Never Go Home, and I was not invited. Sorry. Listen, I have met Matthew Rosenberg a couple times at conventions. We talk occasionally on Twitter. I actually have original art that was sent to me from Joshua Hood because I love that book so much. And every time I see Matt, I'm like, listen, We Can Never Go Home. In the back of the book, it says volume 2 coming in 2016. I'm like, it's 2019, it's 2021. What's going on now? And he's like, shit just happens. The cards don't align. And I always look at him and I'm like, then stop writing books for Marvel. Stop writing books for DC. Just give me the sequel. I don't care if you got to throw it. Kickstarter seems to be the theme of tonight's chat. Throw it on Kickstarter. I will kickstart the book myself and pay for it in full. If you have not read We Can Never Go Home, Please read that book. It's only $10. It is my favorite indie comic of all time. I think maybe next to Saga, because I feel like Saga is this weird, like, it's like Star Wars, where it's like when people ask me what my favorite movie is, I always say Star Wars. People ask me what my favorite comic is, I always say Saga. But then it's like, but if those didn't exist, then it would be this. That's me.
And they're honestly in like a league of their own, because I feel like 100% Saga is like the one modern comic book that I recommend the most. I love it. I've reread it the most amount of times. And that movie for me is definitely Fifth Element. Like Fifth Element is probably my favorite movie of all time.
Ooh.
But there's so many other movies that I'm like, oh yeah, that's my favorite movie. Oh, that's my favorite movie. Fucking Cloud Atlas, one of my favorite movies. But it's definitely going to be Fifth Element is definitely going to be there.
100%.
Okay. Do you have any more books that you read? Because I got just a couple more.
That's it. That's all I got.
Really quick, I'm just going to go through these. So I did get Engine Ward because I've been picking up. It's a solid read. I think the first volume may have come out. This is issue 8 right here. It's done by Vault Comics, and this is such a weird, interesting blend of like fantasy and sci-fi. And it's gone past it, but the first couple issues gave me huge Dune vibes, which that's a tough thing for me to say, but an easy thing because so many things are like inspired by Dune. But I really did enjoy Engine Ward. This one, I got Star Wars High Republic. This one's the IDW one. Really cute. More kids flavor. Is that what I just said? Kids oriented or kids, I don't know. This is going to be more for kids than the other Star Wars High Republic book that's coming out. Nailbiter returns. Solid, bloody serial killer stuff going on. And then I don't think that you picked up Fear Case number 2. This
trade it.
Got so bloody disgusting.
Really?
There are some really gruesome moments in here. I feel like they're chasing the trail of this case. For any of you who haven't like watched and heard us talk about Fear Case, this one was a really good book. Is this Dark Horse as well? I can't remember, but it's done by Matt Kint, who is doing some really good things right now. Tyler and Hillary Jenkins, who did the artwork for King of Nowhere, which was one of my favorite books this last year. But anyways, Fear Case. There's basically this briefcase that once you get it, you have to give it to the person that you hate the most, or it goes to the person you love the most, and it's like cursed or whatever. And these detectives are trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And it's like caused murders and stuff like that. Well, this one, it's only a 4-issue or 5-issue limited series, and this one just went absolutely nuts.
Really?
The covers are really, really dark, so I feel like it doesn't explain how good this book is. So I definitely, if you haven't been able to pick up the single issues, I highly would recommend the trade, even though it might be more expensive. But this one was...
It's good to know that it's still a good one, because that was one where it could be, depending on its first issue, because the first issue was good, but it feels like a series that could kind of level itself out and become very mundane, despite having a very out there sort of story. So it's good to know that that one is still very bonkers and goes that darker route that a story like that probably should.
Yeah. Okay, last book that I have on my list. This one is ENIAC. It's the Bad Idea publisher. So really quick, Bad Idea Publishing, they were something that was supposed to get started at literally like a week before quarantine started a year ago, because we've been in this for a year now. Bad Idea announced this like publishing company, and honestly, I thought that it was going to be so hokey. Like, they were on social media like Instagram, and they're like, hey, go to this website and push this button, and as soon as the button gets pushed 1 million times, we're going to announce stuff. And so I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? So anyways, ENIAC is one of the first books that they came out with, also written by Matt Kint. And this one, they're also doing some
pretty interesting. It was a big week for Matt Kint, apparently.
It really was. So he had to literally put all of the good stuff in this, so we could, this book had to walk so Berserker could kind of crawl, I guess. I don't know.
Crawl, live.
Yeah. So anyways, with ENIAC, it's this weird book where there's this supercomputer that starts controlling stuff and they're trying to figure out things that are going on. This was actually a really good book. There's a lot of hype with Bad Idea because Bad Idea is doing this thing where they're doing like a first and second printing, but the second printing is actually the first because they're actually saying it's all made up and the points don't matter. You really don't get a difference with the first and second printing and it shouldn't matter. But they are making these exclusive deals with shops that basically only some shops can carry it. If shops end up selling books on eBay for more than cover price within 30 days of it being published, they can't sell Bad Idea books anymore. So apparently already a couple shops have been caught.
What?
Yeah. And for all of the hype, I actually really did enjoy this because I love the idea of like supercomputers taking over. So I know that's like pretty vague, but this is actually a really good book. You can also apparently only buy one copy a day from your local shop. So for instance, I think there's only one shop in my area who has this, Books with Pictures, and they can only sell you one per day. So none of the other shops are going to get it. So it's not like people are going to go in, buy 20 books, sell them on eBay, one per person per day. And if you're the first person in line to buy the book, you get a pin. And apparently the pin and the book, first printing, were being sold for like $1,000 on Wednesday. Yeah. Regardless of that weird ass hype, this was a really good book. And if you can get your hands on it, I would highly recommend it.
I saw that book spiking and I was looking at it and I was like, oh, that spiked. And then I was like, why did it spike? And I looked at it and I'm like, oh, and it's already saying that it is valued at $150. And I'm just like,
it's a good book, but like, don't pay more than like, I mean, if you really, really want it, don't pay more than like $5 for it.
Or just trade weight it. Simple as that. I don't know if they're going to do trades, but like if people are going to be like that, and that's the one thing that's kind of frustrated me with the comic book community, and I feel like we've seen it more so within the past, I would say like 2 years or so. It's been fairly recent that it's like people hoarding these books and these new series and then selling them for triple and double the price. And it's like you said, what's the difference between a first printing and a second printing? Does it matter?
It's cover.
I mean, the only thing that really matters is when they go and they change the color. Because there are some covers where it's like, oh, I want the second printing. Or if it's a different cover and I'm like, oh, I like that cover. Or then I like this cover. Then that, okay, I kind of understand that. Because I ain't going to lie. When Batman proposed to Catwoman and there was all these different printings and they were all different colors, I was a dumb bitch and I bought all of them. Because I was like, oh, I want all of this. But it's just weird. It's just like, just let us enjoy something. Let us have a good time and whatnot. And it's like, I don't know. But Bad Idea, I know it seems kind of hokey. No trades, no digital. Then how am I supposed to read it? What's the point? I'm going to go to Bad Idea and be like, look, I got a super cool show with a super cool lady I go to every Sunday. I live in Delaware, so you don't have any shops that carry these books, and I want this book. Give me the book. We'll figure it out.
Their marketing strategy sounds like a bad idea.
Sounds like... Can I get a new co-host? If anybody out there would like to co-host on Sundays with me and talk about comics, I am now available.
Do you not like my jokes?
I like them in moderation. Moderation.
Sorry. All of a sudden, I'm going to see...
I love all of your jokes.
Thank you. I'm going to go and like look at my like YouTube analytics, and it's going to be, there was one day where I don't know what the fuck I said, but I lost like 5 followers, and someday, like one day I lost like 5 followers. So I'm just like, I don't know what I said, but I hope it was worth it. So
it's always worth it.
Yeah.
So that was all the new. I mean, you don't have anything else that you picked up this week, right? That was everything for new.
Other than just like back issues, the only things that I did pick up, I'll go ahead and just show them really quick. Maybe are the rest over there?
I picked up one very relevant back issue, but I guess I'll save mine till the end because then it helps us segue a little, maybe.
Ooh.
And then we'll go into Captain Blue Hen carries Bad Idea Comics, that is very good to know, except I don't go into Cat and Blue Hen because they laugh at me when I ask for 10 variants of the same book, and they tell me, oh, honey, do you not know that those books are the same cover? And I'm like, yeah, I know they're the same cover. And one time I went in there and they asked me what books I was looking for my boyfriend. So I try not to go to Blue Hen anymore. That being said, I still love Jason and I love the Night Crew, but the owners kind of stink.
Yeah, don't ask a chick what books they're looking for their boyfriend, because
what books they're looking for their boyfriend. Because listen, the only boyfriends I've ever had have either not read comics or they've tried to claim my comic book collection. That is the worst. Do not date somebody and then call it a shared collection when you don't contribute, because that will get you exited out immediately.
Can I tell you a really funny story about my partner and I? So like a couple days ago, he was like, because we both like enjoy comic books, and that's kind of how we started like talking. That's a whole nother story. We've been together for 12 years now. But anyways, that's a whole nother story. So anyways, and he doesn't really like watch the show because he literally has to like put up with me like.
So he hears one side of the show.
Exactly the worst side of the show. But anyways, he asked me, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and he's like looking at some things and he's like, hey, there's this book coming out, I don't know, like if you heard it you might like it, it's called Two Moons. And I'm like, what? Tell me about Two Moons, what's it about? And he's like, I don't know, like it just like it looks really good. And I'm like, oh, Two Moons, it sounds like it's about this. And so that's the kind of like bullshit that, you know, everyone says they want a geek girlfriend until it's ridiculous bullshit, because this is what it looks like. It's not all fun parties.
He must have not been around for that show that day.
No, he must have not, which is okay. He fucking loves my jokes.
This is my favorite show ever. I love this.
So anyways, on to the, he literally puts up with me spending so much dumb bitch money. So shout out, because like I said, everyone wants a dumb bitch geek girlfriend until they spend
the dumb bitch money
over $1,000 a month on comic books. And I'm just going to leave it there. So anyways, some of the treats that I got this week. I did end up getting this Avengers Wakanda Forever cover, because look at those Dora Milaje. So badass. I did also pick up A-Force #1. I think I have the other cover or something, but I figured that was really pretty. Look at all that.
Hello.
Love it. And I did end up picking up this because it's technically the first appearance of Angela in the Marvel universe. It's Age of Ultron 10, even though she's only in here for like a hot second, and I really want that Greg Capullo Angela cover, but you know, they didn't have it. So anyways, first appearance of Angela in the Marvel universe, and I picked up the other one too. And then I picked up these really random Avengers because they were kind of cheap, so I'm just like, with all this hype over Vision and whatever, I just really like them covers. And there's this one where Spider-Woman's just coming through the wall, and it says creepy. And it says Ghost starring Spider-Woman, because you know, that's a good joke. I don't know who you are. And then this one, because it's Unlimited Vision.
And you know we're on a Vision hype.
Yeah. And then this one, because I really just loved this cover with Spectrum. I just thought that was beautiful. So I did pick that one up as well. I really liked the like spacey type background. So those were my pickups.
I only picked up one back issue because I feel like I've cutting back a little bit. It's kind of hard with my shop because it's like I always know I've been through every bin at this point, and it's only when I like find myself obsessed with a new character from Marvel that I'm like, I'm gonna keep digging and finding all this stuff. But I've been obsessed with the action figure variants from Marvel. I've collected a bunch for Star Wars, and now I feel like I'm collecting more and more from Marvel. So I feel like picking up this Scarlet Witch Avengers cover is very fitting, because I have now totally imprinted myself onto Scarlet Witch, and I'm now obsessed with her. because of WandaVision, which
Mm-hmm.
leads me into our segue of briefly talking about the WandaVision finale, because I know we both watched it, and we won't say too much because it has only been 2 days since, and I know not everybody has time to watch it.
Well, I
However,
did just go ahead and put a little WandaVision spoilers thing
oh,
on the
WandaVision
bottom.
spoilers. Okay, so we're safe. Can we talk about the suit? Because the suit looks good, and I'm like, oh, I've waited 10. First of all, I waited 10 years for her to finally be called Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
10 years. But her in the suit is just the perfect. It feels like the perfect imagining of her classic costume with the Kevin Wada redesign in the James Robinson run. And I'm just
That's what I was just looking for. I'm like, maybe it's because we just recently read that and I feel like it's on my brain. So I love that costume redesign. To me, it fit perfect.
It looks good.
Mm-hmm.
It looks good. But when I say that the finale had me in his sobbing hysterics, like ugly crying, especially when we get those final moments between her and Vision.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my shit. I don't think I had enough tissues with me. I had tissues with me, but I did not have nearly enough to get me through the finale of WandaVision. And I'm just like, that's a good series. And I like the fact that it's nice and self-contained and it said series finale. So we know it's one and done. They're not going to stretch it out. Yes, it's going to bleed into the rest of the Marvel universe and kind of touch up on the rest of the Marvel universe, but that's it. I'm like, thank you. Like it was, I don't want to say it was perfect because it did end on a really dumb CGI battle, as Marvel and DC movies tend to do with their villains.
Yeah. Because of course, what else are you going to do with a superhero? God forbid a superhero resolves something without a CGI punchy battle. But it was just really enjoyable. And I think I can't speak for you, but I think reading the James Robinson run as WandaVision was going on, I feel like it really helped me connect with the character a lot more. And I see a lot of people now, too, asking for comic recommendations now that WandaVision is over, or as WandaVision is airing. I can definitely confirm House of M is not the way to go. There was no more mutants. There was not all the mutants anymore. There was no more humans or anything like that. It wasn't like breathing mutants into the universe, which I think was... I
think that's my favorite thing, is seeing all of the really weird theories.
Can I just say that, I loved seeing WandaVision, but as soon as the two Visions started talking about the ship of Theseus, I went fucking nuts. Like, that was so beautiful. And it reminded me a lot of, I forget which movie it was. It was one of the recent... it was like the Aliens movie, the Prometheus, whatever movie that was, with Michael Fassbender, and he's basically talking to the other Michael Fassbender robot, and they're talking about like poetry, and it reminded me of that. Like, so how would two androids talk to one another? And so I think that that moment, and like talking about the ship of like Theseus, I geeked out so hard thinking about that. So that was such a beautifully philosophical moment.
Just the writer's room in general, some of the dialogue that we got, everybody's talking about from last week, what is love if not grief, or what is grief if not love persevering?
What is cheese but milk persevering? I swear to God, I read those words by Tom Taylor and I'm like, what is cheese but milk persevering? Tom Taylor, you son of a bitch. I will read anything that you write now.
It's the fact. But the writer's room, it's like they were on a whole nother level, and there was you could tell there was a lot of people in the writer's room. And I feel like we get this with a lot of Marvel movies, is they take storylines and they make something. You can obviously see where the inspiration comes from. It's not an adaptation, but it's an inspiration. Look at Thor Ragnarok. They're like, okay, we're going to throw in, some Jason Aaron Thor, but then we're also going to throw a little bit of Razzle Dazzle Planet Hulk in there. And it's like, I'm sorry, what? We're going to do what? And that was the same, I feel like, with WandaVision, is they were like, okay, we're going to take Tom King's vision and we're going to throw it in with a little bit of James Robinson Scarlet Witch run, and maybe we'll throw a little bit of Children's Crusade in there, but not too much. But by the way, those are the 3 books where if you are looking for WandaVision comic recs, that is where you need to start. Is those 3 books in particular.
I agree. And I think that there were a lot of people who, one, didn't like the show or maybe got misconceptions because they were like, oh, I want it to be House of M. And even me, I was like, I went into the first 2 episodes and I'm like, it's totally Tom King's vision. And it totally was not.
Totally decided, nope.
And so I think that there were moments where, like, even watching the first 2 episodes, I'm like, okay, I get it. It's kind of slow, but it built up to something, and I think what it ended up doing was fantastic. And I think a lot of people didn't like WandaVision because it didn't meet their overhyped expectations. And it a big reason why I think comic books have gotten so popular is because people can spec on it and people can be like, oh, it's going to be this. I'm going to sell this hot comic book right now. But when it comes down to it, the story that it told is just as good as any comic book story there is. So I do like that it deviated from any storyline we would have gotten.
And it broke the Marvel formula a little bit, which is something we desperately needed.
But I do have to say one thing because I have this eternal fucking bone to pick. The one thing that I wish that Marvel movies would have stuck to in the movies, what they would have done, kept from the comic books. Why the fuck didn't we get death with Thanos? I am so mad that we didn't get Infinity Gauntlet.
Give me King Simp Thanos. King Simp Thanos.
Yes, Daddy Simp. Simp Daddy Thanos.
Speaking of Simps, now that Vision is out of the picture, and don't get me wrong, I love Wanda and Vision. I love them 100%. Yeah. Can we bring in the real power couple now? And I threw this one on Instagram the other night, and I got DMs, like hardcore DMs, and was like, wait, what? Can I please have the Rex? And I'm like, I don't have the Rex, but I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. Wanda and Dr. Doom. Now that is a motherfucking power couple. Listen, bring me Dr. Doom. Let me see Dr. Doom and the Scarlet Witch together. Let's see it. Let's do it. We could throw Vision in the mix. Let's have a little throuble going on. I don't care. But Dr. Doom and Wanda Maximoff did have a thing, and they did get married, and then eventually got divorced. And I feel like it's just one of those really weird, wacky relationships that shouldn't work, but absolutely work. And then people forget about it. And then when they found out about it, they're just like, I'm sorry, what? Because that's how I was when I found out.
I'm trying to remember what book that was, but I can't recall. So if chat remembers, if anyone in the chat, because you're right. Like, I hope that they do bring that. I don't think that they will, because right now we still even though, spoiler alert, at the end of Scarlet Witch, we do see her like doing some magic, and she does like kind of look evil. But I don't think that they're going to make her an evil character. And I think that's the only way that it would work with Dr. Doom. And I think that he will only be a villain in the Marvel movies if they ever, when they bring him in, if they ever bring him in, he will only be a villain. And if she's with him, then I don't think that could ever happen realistically. But
I can hope.
We're here for the comic recommendations.
Here for it, 100%.
Yeah.
But that was WandaVision. I just wanted to talk about it because I feel like I have a lot of casual comic friends or casual geek friends who really like the MCU and of course watch WandaVision because it's part of the MCU. But then when I'm like, oh, but did you see that they inspired this comic and this comic and this comic? And they're like, we don't read any comics. And I'm like, and I do think it was in Children's Crusade. I'm trying to track down a copy. Unfortunately, my library does not have it. I'm very sad. I'm like, how do you not have Children's Crusade? Come on. I'm just trying to read some comics.
I'm about to just like go on Powell's right now and be like, do you have it?
I'm about to do it before you do it and snap up the book. I'm gonna snap at the book. But yeah, that's WandaVision thoughts. I feel like we didn't spoil it too much.
No, I'll go ahead and take the spoiler banner down.
Too much.
Do this
do you have any final thoughts on WandaVision?
That's pretty much it. I think that everything has been said. I will go ahead and end with this. I think that if you did enjoy, hey dude, Sorry, my cat's causing a ruckus over here. I do think that if you enjoyed WandaVision, maybe rather than the Tom King vision, I would 100% recommend the Robinson Scarlet Witch books. I will, you know what? Okay, so I have one more thing. I do think that I don't think that we're going to get any more Agatha Harkness, and that makes me sad. I would love to see her come back, maybe get her own series, something like that. But who knows?
I wish that she had killed her. Because the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, is she going to kill her? And then she's going to haunt her mind? Because in the, spoiler alert, I mean, it's in the first issue, but in the Robinson run, and I don't know when, because this was my first experience with Scarlet Witch, but we find out that Scarlet Witch had killed Agatha at some point, and now Agatha's ghost is kind of haunting her as she kind of
like they're like
her mental stability again, and they end up forming this very like familial relationship almost. Which is
like
crazy.
A mentor and student.
Yes, like a mentor and student. So I was kind of hoping that Scarlet Witch, in her anger or in her instability, would have killed her, and then it would have led to us seeing Agatha Harkness come back as sort of this tether to Scarlet Witch, if you will. But I still like the fact that, you know, how it happened and what happened. So, you know, you can't have everything, I guess.
I do also after the end of that where Agatha Harkness does end up go, you know, Scarlet Witch basically is like, okay, like you're the neighbor now. I do constantly want to say okie dokie artichoke. Like I want to say that every other second. So the joke that y'all get tonight was the like glasses.
Next week she's gonna hold a full fucking artichoke in her hand.
Yeah, next week though, I'm gonna pull some okie dokie artichokes out of my hat. So
goodness,
I'm
not ready for that episode. Yeah. So I did pick up some things from the library that I would love to go over. I also picked up some fun toys. I know we don't really talk about action figures and toys, but I did promise last week I was going to the toy store, and I did. And I picked up some really cool stuff. No, I should do that last because it ties into what I picked up from the library. Look at that. Segues out the ass. So the first thing I picked up, this is Sweeney Boo's Eat and Love Yourself. It's an original graphic novel from Boombox Studios. I personally really, really love Sweeney Boo's art. I think she's one of the most fun artists on the market right now. She's done Captain Marvel Action. For IDW, she's done a couple other things. She did the cover for she did the cover for Beckstar, which I will also talk about before we leave tonight because I got some fun stuff on that. But this is supposed to be a book about eating disorders. So this is going to be one of those deeply personal books that break your heart, but it's really pretty to look at. So I'm really excited to read this. Really shocked that my library had this. So immediately picked it up. Picked these up because of you. Finally got my hands on Extreme X-Men. I read the first trade this morning. Became obsessed. I didn't realize that it's like them. So the premise of this, which Jen failed to mention, other than the fact is, if you weren't here for our Valentine's Day episode, which you saw my mind break in two, the reason I picked up these books is because it is an alternate universe featuring a gay Wolverine. And I'm like, Avery, and I gotta read these books. He is in fact very gay, and I very much like that. But the premise of these books is they come from an alternate universe. It's Emma Frost, Nightcrawler, Howlett. They call him. They don't call him Wolverine. They call him Howlett. And a floating Professor Xavier head, and our Dazzler. We're in their universe, I guess. I don't know. The mainline Dazzler gets roped into it. And they have to hop across the multiverse to kill 12 Professor Xaviers that are evil.
Yeah. Who are like heads in jar type things.
It's really interesting because like the first universe that we hop to is like this universe where they're gods and they're torturing people and killing people. And like the gods show up and it's like Thor and Storm are married. You have God Namor, you have God Sabretooth, God Iceman, and I'm like, this is a wild trip. I don't know what's happening. But I'm having a lot of fun with this. And then, of course, you got Hercules being super gay with Wolverine, which I really like. And then at one point, they end up in the Wild West and all that. And it's just, this is a fun book. Listen, I'm so glad that you pointed me onto these books because I have the volume 2 that I need to read. And I know that's where it gets a little gayer. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
But this is good. This is some good shit. I can't believe Marvel published this. It's Greg Pak who wrote it. I didn't know Greg Pak wrote it.
Yep. I do have to say, shout out to my local comic book store, specifically Nick at Books with Pictures, because he recommended that to me. Because we were talking about X-Men and gay X-Men, and he was like, yeah, like Wolverine's gay. He's like, I think it's Extreme X-Men, and he's like, he has gold claws, and I'm like, I need this right now. So they didn't have a copy, but I ended up picking up volume 1, and I think I read volume 2 on Marvel Unlimited. But I didn't love it. Like, to me, I think that it was written during that time whenever like steampunk stuff was really good. So they're like, how can we do a weird steampunk X-Men? And that's, to me, it sounds cool on paper, but because it was done in the early 2000s, whatever it was.
It was done 2013. It was actually more recent than I thought.
Good night, Travis. Have a good night.
It was done way more recent than I thought because there's 2 Extreme X-Men series. There's the first one, which was done by Chris Claremont, and that is done in the early 2000s. And that may have gay Wolverine, but the one you were talking about is 2013 with Greg Pak.
Okay.
And that's a limited series, which I'm thankful for because the other one has 64 issues, and I'm not about that life right now.
Yeah. No.
But it was just, I think I went into it with extremely low expectations, especially after what you had said. I was like, I'm here purely for Gaverine, and that's it. But it was a fun Sunday morning read. That's all I can say.
And it's a relatively quick read too. You don't need to look too much into it. It's a book you can just kind of zoom through. Bookish Realm is asking about what we're talking about. Extreme X-Men, if that's the one that
X-Men written by Greg Pak. So there's 2 Extreme X-Men series. So if you're looking for Gaverine, because that's what we're calling him now, this is the one that you want. Picked up, and sorry for my weird face just now, but you'll understand why in a second. So I picked up the Spider-Woman Volume 1 because I love Jessica Drew so much. She's one of my favorite Marvel characters and one of the first Marvel characters that I ever read and fell in love with. So I'm really excited to finally read this with her new costume and all that. But I was flipping through this, and correct me if I'm wrong, it could be a different character, but is this Old Lady Rogue? Am I in love with Old Lady Rogue? I don't know. I feel like it might be Old Lady Rogue.
I didn't finish that series. I think I picked up issue 1, and then issue 1 came out either right before or during that weird month period almost a year ago at the beginning of quarantine, because we have been in quarantine for about a year now. So I think I missed out on that. So I haven't bought the trade of that, and I really want to read because that's the new Spider-Woman, right?
The new Spider-Woman. I don't think it's Old Lady Rogue. I think it just looks like her. But I'm here for it, and the art looks cute, so really excited to read Spider-Woman. This is a book that everybody keeps talking about and people keep pressuring me to read. This is Harleen. It's DC Black Label by Stepan Sajic. I don't like Harley Quinn. It's not a hidden fact. I don't like Harley. I'm not a big fan of her. But I love Stepan Sajic, and I know that this came about because of the webcomics he did. And I actually really liked some of the webcomic stuff that he was posting. So I feel like at this point, if his name is attached to it, I will buy it. I'm still waiting for him to put out Fine Print, which supposedly is coming out at the end of the year. And then he keeps teasing this really cool, I think I sent it to you, this cool mecha ladies driving mechas thing that he's going to start working on. And I'm like, listen, I'm on an Evangelion phase. Give me ladies and mechas. Let's just have a good time. And then the last book I picked up, which will segue into some of the figures I bought, is Justice League Generation Lost. And I am back on a kick for Beatriz DaCosta, who is known as Fire. I love the character so much. I haven't read a whole lot, but I love her. And I want DC Comics to do more with her and make her gay with Ice, because they are girlfriends and deserve to be together forever, and they never do any books with them. So when I was looking for reading recs for Fire and Ice, this popped up. So I'm going to give it a read. Doesn't look like the most fun time. It looks very generic mid to late 2000s DC stuff, but it's got my girl in it, so I'm really excited to read this. And speaking of my girl, I literally drove 30 minutes away to a shop because they had a figure of Fire. Let me see if I can. It's not going to focus on her, but it's figure of Fire, and like there's no action figures of her, so
Yeah.
I had to buy her. Stared at her the whole way home. Not while I was driving, of course, but
Well, if you like put it on the dashboard and
drive. But I literally went into this little toy shop and I was like, I saw in a picture you posted last night that you guys got a Fire figure. And it was right there in the picture. And now she's gone. And the guy was like, I don't even know who that is. And I'm like, you work in a toy store that focuses on comic book stuff. How do you not know this character? But to be fair, this character did not know, or this person did not know who Big Barda was. So when I picked up this Big Barda figure, he was like, who is that? And I'm like, this, sir, is the greatest woman you will ever meet in your entire life. And I must have seemed like the gayest person in the world. And I'm like, I literally looked at this man that I had never met. And I was like, I want her to crush me in between her thighs. And he was just like, yeah, man. He's like, I can resonate with that. I get that. I'm like, yep. So I picked up Big Barda, and I already have a Big Barda figure, but I wanted two. A Fire figure, because DC ladies. And I feel like I don't pick up nearly as many figures anymore, because I feel like I have everything I could ever want at this point. But then I also picked up Funkos for two of my two best boys. And I'm really excited about these because they came in a 3-pack and a 2-pack. And I did not want to buy the 3-pack and the 2-pack. So when I found them loose for $4, I was a very happy lady. So I picked up also what? I know about the failed JLA TV show, but she was in it? What?
Did this ever air? Oh,
is it on YouTube?
Yeah, we're gonna go down a weird rabbit hole looking for this.
Listen, I could tell you the history about Fire and Ice, and like, it's gay as shit. You're gonna be like, oh, we might have to do a Queer Pride episode, or Queer Pride Month episode, and we might just have to talk about Fire and Ice, because their relationship is very queer without being queer, because DC is a bunch of cowards that just don't want to let them be.
Anyway, I think all the comic book, I mean, Marvel is too, but
a bunch of cowards.
Okay. I think you can. So Scott says, I think you can find it on YouTube. So I know what I'm going to watch tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be bedtime watching material right there. But Funkos I bought Booster Gold because he's the best boy in the whole universe.
Oh.
The only thing I'm sad about, so he was in a 2-pack with Blue Beetle, but I don't like Blue Beetle, so I didn't buy Blue Beetle. Sorry, Blue Beetle fans. The only thing I wish he had came with like a baby Skeets that I could put with him, but he did not. And then I picked up a figure of the best Green Lantern, and that's Guy Gardner. Listen, I love Guy Gardner, and it's for a very stupid, ridiculous reason. Because I have not read any comics with Guy Gardner. I might have read like one or two. I had a dream like 8 years ago. 8 years, unprompted. Don't know why, don't know how. Had a dream that me and Guy Gardner got married.
Oh my God.
Don't know how, don't know why, don't know. Wasn't reading any Green Lantern at the time. Was getting into comics. Had a dream that me and Guy Gardner got married on Oa. Became obsessed with Guy Gardner ever since. It's the little things in life, guys.
That is so wholesome, and I love that so much.
It's so stupid because people are like, when I tell people that story, they're like, well, were you reading Guy Gardner comics? And I'm like, no, I had never read a Guy Gardner comic. I just had a dream that we got married. And let me tell you, that is like the only dream I've ever had about a comic book character. Reading comics as much as I do, you would think I'd have like weird dreams about comic book characters or like things coming to life or storylines or whatever. This little guy right here, this is the only one that's ever popped up in one of my dreams, man. Let me tell you. Fun fact, fun story of the day.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. But that's all my fun goodies and pickups and comic stuff because we can't go to conventions anymore. So it's like supplementing with the library and the occasional figure store and occasional back issues. So I miss conventions so much.
Me too. Me too a lot. Hello, Skip. That's pretty much everything I have. I mean, I know I got like this big old stack. I didn't get any figures. Most of the stores that are here don't really have figures. There's a couple, but they're like a little bit farther away, and I never get to that like side. So
I love it. I'm for it.
It sounds so good.
Sounds good. Gonna legally change my name. I'm gonna become the MG.
Oh man,
what an episode tonight, guys! It was a fun one.
We didn't even because we were gonna originally we were like, okay, let's go ahead and we're gonna do like March Madness. We're gonna like pick comic book characters together. We will be back next week. I think we're gonna go ahead and start that next week. So we'll do March Madness with comic book characters. I did get so many amazing recommendations on that. I can't wait to like put a list together. Still taking recommendations because I the list is there, but I think it could use a little bit more. So hit either of us up on Instagram or Mars on Twitter because I'm not really on Twitter. I'll miss it. It'll take me like a week to get back to you about it.
She always likes and retweets our show announcements like a week later, and I'm like, Jen, the show's done. It's gone.
Sorry. Twitter's not for me.
Twitter's not for you.
No. I love me some TikTok though. So much. Oh. Okay.
TikTok. That is not the one I expected from you is TikTok.
Dude, TikTok, the kids are going to be all right, man. So anyways, I think that wraps up the show. We've been here for just over 2 hours. I know I ask this every time, and you've got so many cool things. What are you working on? And people, when people go to your channel, what can they expect?
What am I working on? Well, I did just publish 2 new videos in the span of a week, so I'm pretty
true.
proud of myself for that. So I published a manga collection, a baby manga collection haul where I kind of talked about, it was a little different for me where I talked about my manga collection and I just wanted to talk about manga. So I did that. I also just uploaded my comic book pool list video because 2021 is insane and I've added like 20 things to my pool. It is also the only video on my channel where you can see me break down hysterically in tears over a very particular book. And trust me, the tears were way worse. I had to cut it. But you still get massive tears from me over a particular book. And if you watch our show every Sunday, you probably know what book that is already without me even telling you. So those 2 things are newly live on my channel. I guess go click, like, subscribe, comment, do the thing, I guess.
Do the things.
Do the things. I'm still planning on doing a comic book Q&A or comics YouTube Q&A. So I'm still accepting questions and stuff for that. I am planning on doing, I have another comic book recommendation reading list in the work for my favorite Bat Boy, Jason Todd. So I will be filming that shortly very soon. And I also had plans this week to finally break down and film an episode of Drunk Comics, which I have been desperately trying to do for a couple months now. And I was always trying to figure out how to work out the kinks. And I think I finally figured out how to do it. So now I'm torn if I want to do a drunk episode of rating X-Men by their hotness. I mean, I'm obviously going to do both, but it's figuring out which one to do first. Drunk Comics rating X-Men by their hotness, or retelling all of Saga while drunk. Like drunk.
If you do either of these, like I feel like I need to be a part of it just to witness.
Yeah, I want to do it. And my theory for Saga was every time a character, like as a character is introduced and I call them hot, I would take a shot. But I also realized that if I do that, I will be blacked out by the end of the first trade.
Because
by the end of the first trade.
And like 9 volumes of that, maybe like
this could be a what do you call it? Like if you go on like a hunger strike, you can be like, I'm gonna go on a drunk Saga reading spree, Brian K. Vaughan, Fiona Staples, until Saga comes out.
Oh no, I'm still gonna go. I'm still gonna go on a drunk binger because I think retelling the story of Saga while drunk, because the story gets very insane and very crazy, could be very fun. But also doing the theory of taking a shot every time a hot character pops up.
Yeah.
Because in the first issue or two alone, we get Marco, we get the Will, we get Prince Robot, we get the Stalk. So that is
Lion Cat. So well, you wouldn't necessarily call them like hot. So yeah,
I would take a shot for Lion Cat just to have a shot for Lion Cat. But those are 4 right there, and that's 4 shots within the span of 15, 20 minutes. So I might have to come up with a new game to play where I take a shot. Because, I mean, what fun is a drinking video if you're not taking shots in the middle of it?
That is true.
So definitely want to do drunk comics because it's been something that's been on my mind for a while, and I'm like playing with what to do with it. So if there are other things that you think that I should discuss or retell while drunk, let me know, because I also considered doing the Injustice Gods Among Us comics while drunk, which I think would just be fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So anyways, it'd be so much fun.
Go, I did drop the link to Mars's channel. So if you're not already subscribed, then you should be. No excuses.
No excuses, I guess. She told you. I can't say anything, so.
No.
I would like if you would subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. But Jen apparently is saying you have to. It's not a
You
choice.
have to. You have to. Like if you're here, just you have to go and do that. It's in the link. Or it's in the comments. So I did drop that below. Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for being here on this beautiful Sunday. I appreciate you all so much. Mars, thank you for being here with me every Sunday, whether it's a morning or an afternoon. So much fun being here.
So much fun.
Okay. Good evening, folks. Rest well. I feel like I need to figure out how to like end the show and be like, so that's the news.
That's it. That's everything. Oh no.
I didn't see you there. Okay. Bye, folks. Have a wonderful night. Bye.